I got some great news.
What's the great news?
I got some fantastic news, not only for content,
Okay.
but for just all of America, our mental health.
You know how I love content. And America.
There's been some leaks in the news.
Yeah.
You know my news sources.
Oh, yeah.
And they're telling me
various sources have leaked.
Donald Trump looks like he might be coming back to Twitter and Facebook. He's considering making a return.
Let's go.
And I know this
so funny.
because I've heard that his team is workshopping his first tweet. They're getting it ready.
I can't wait to see what that is. It's got to be gas. The return after what? He's been banned for like a year and a half?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I feel like Twitter is all about not thinking about what you post.
No,
so the fact that they're putting thought into this means it's going to be fucking
It's
gas.
all about a shrimp fried this rice.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, because
what could he possibly come back and say that needs to be workshopped? That he's not just dropping on Truth Social?
Trump's never thought about what he said.
No.
And the fact that they're thinking about it makes me so excited, bro. I'm so ready.
Like, they're crafting rhetoric here.
Yeah.
It's like he's about to post a new essay on Substack.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's going on with this tweet.
I'm very excited for it.
Huh.
What do you think his first tweet's going to be?
I don't know. Like,
you had to predict.
I'm genuinely curious what it could be about. I guess it depends on the timeline, because, like, right now, World Economic Forum discourse is big.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I don't think it'll be that, though.
I don't think he's going to talk about it. Maybe, man, I genuinely don't know.
Anything.
Maybe he's drafting something to get ready for the, he already announced his presidential bid.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something.
Could just be something as simple as, like, Trump 2024. Could be.
Oh, yeah, you need to draft it, though, to, like, make sure, like, you haven't, like, focus
Yeah,
grouped.
they're probably, they're focus grouping it. They're in, like, board meetings tossing ideas around. People are getting fired for their bad ideas.
Everyone who's, like, staying at Mar-a-Lago right now, they're airplaying to the TV.
Dog,
like, a bunch of different tweets.
I know the room that is drafting his tweet smells foul. I know it. That's just gotta be wicked. His tweet could be something as simple as Trump 24. It could be I won the election, I'm back, you know. But I feel like
do you think it's going to be some grandiose announcement about like we've done it, we've defeated big tech. Here I am back on Twitter, totally complicit with big tech.
Yeah,
posting on one of the biggest big tech platforms.
I mean, maybe it could be just something like that. I don't know. I feel like it's got to be something that transcends whatever the news cycle is currently.
For sure.
Whenever he posts it, like it's not just going to be about an issue.
Or you think it's going to be an ad?
Someone's gonna pay him for ad placement. That's like the Goya beans.
Not paying. Oh yeah, not even paying him for like an ad placement. I'm thinking like, what if it's just like another Trump card debacle?
Oh yeah.
What if he's coming in just to sell?
He just does another hashtag ad.
Sell. Like he brings Trump steaks back.
Or it could be an image, right? It might not even be text at all.
True.
Could be a picture of him with like muscles or something like superimposed on.
Oh, and they're trying
body.
to like Photoshop it right now. They're like, everyone is making fun of us for the stock images on the Trump cards. We need to come through. President Trump is the biggest, strongest president ever. As Nick Adams here would say, he would be the #1 golfer if he joined the PGA Tour. Maybe they're trying to work with something like that.
Could be something crazy.
Isn't Twitter also doing a thing where they're getting rid of the character limit?
I think so. I think it's going to be 4,000 characters or something. Don't quote me on that.
That's insane. If you put a tweet that's 4,000 characters on my screen, but if I have to scroll more than like one thumb, like one swipe of a thumb to read your tweet, fuck you.
No, that's crazy because we'll get comments on Instagram that are super long, like rebutting something we say in a video or a reel or post or whatever. I can't read that much, bruh. Like, I'm sorry. I don't care.
And then the ones I do read, I just get upset because I have to fight back.
Yeah.
I do. Like,
it's in my nature.
There's a string of comments we got on Instagram this past week about gas stoves.
Yeah.
Fucking foul.
Mm-hmm.
They were absolutely foul. I was fighting with this dude, and he's just... at first, I think he said the first comment was something like, "What's wrong with gas stoves?" And I took the bait. I genuinely thought he was asking a question, so I said, 13% increase risk of childhood asthma.
As covered on the episode.
Among a host of other issues, right? And then he immediately said, one country can't solve anything. What about all these other shithole third world countries that I've been to? And I was like, whoa now. Whoa, buddy.
The use of gas stoves in Europe, for example, and I think a lot of European places have gotten rid of gas stoves, but like that's not affecting childhood asthma in the United States.
Yeah.
It's health implications.
And it's also crazy because it brings up this whole point about like you can't have discourse with people who aren't just like ignorant to a topic, but are unwilling to engage with a topic.
They're not good faith interlocutors.
Exactly, because he rebutted to my response by saying, "What about pet dander? Pet dander increases childhood asthma." I said, "Brother, vacuum."
Yeah.
my brother in Christ, you can mitigate that. You can clean your house. You can't like clean the air.
Oh my God. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to that Trump tweet. And we'll be looking out for it, and we'll be responding. We'll be quote tweeting. We'll be boosting him.
Do you think it's going to be like something you can cross post? Is he coming back to Facebook too, or just Twitter?
I think the rumor is he's coming back to both. But I would guess Twitter's going to be the big one just because he's known for tweeting. You know what I mean? He's a poster.
That's the other thing. Is like, I completely understand why he's coming back to Twitter, like why that works for like Elon's whole thing going on. But like, why Facebook?
I don't know. I mean, obviously it has electoral implications. It's important for you to boost your message. But at the same time, it's unclear that social media is all that important in terms of getting votes, especially for someone like Trump, who has 100% name recognition.
Exactly. Who everyone on Facebook is voting for Trump.
Exactly.
Like, they're already doing that.
You don't need to go there. There's no target population that you haven't hit on Facebook. Like, you got them all.
The demographics checked.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I guess we'll see. It's very exciting, though. I'm so ready for the content.
We're on the cusp of greatness right now.
See, because the thing is that whenever we post clips, the ones that I found explode the most are when we're reading tweets for some reason.
I know. I can have the most well-formulated, intelligent thought that I can muster. Yeah. And then it's the Nick Adams tweet that blows up.
It's the Nick Adams tweet. It's the Quarter Pounder tweet. It's reading the woke Santa Claus tweet. Like, people love the tweets. People are posters.
They do. I love Twitter.
And maybe you will have, if Trump finally gets back to Twitter, because Truth Social is just not the same. Yeah. If Trump finally gets back to Twitter and everyone's seeing it, we might have to have some sections where we're just reading crazy Trump tweets.
The definition of, like, bad for democracy, good for content.
Exactly. No,
because like
precisely.
The other clips we have that like blow up like at a way higher proportion than others are clips where we're like, all right, let's play a game. Did George Santos say this, or did a Nazi say this, or did Jeremy make it up?
Or did Tucker Carlson say this, or was it a white supremacist?
Yeah.
Are they just the same? Yeah. Yeah.
Absurd.
I'm excited though.
Absurd, but I mean,
ready for the future.
You guys may notice right now, at least if you're watching on YouTube, that the setup looks a little different.
It does.
There's another chair here.
Exactly. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that after the break.
Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. Today,
we're to a very special episode.
We got a special guest on the show today. Joining us is Mikal Goodman. Mikal, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone. I am Mikal Goodman. I am the youngest city council person in Pontiac, Michigan. Got elected at 20. So I took office at 21. I'm now 22. I'll be 23 next month.
Let's go.
Nice.
And I mean, the key thing is, besides being the youngest, I ran as an open socialist and whooped my incumbent's ass by like 24 points.
Nice, nice. We love to see that. So before we dive right into the episode, I'll just remind everybody real quick, as we always do, check out the Patreon, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. All of it's in the description. And Mikal, are there any platforms that our listeners should go check you out on?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely like follow me. I think my Twitter, my Instagram, Facebook and TikTok might all be the same, which is my first name, Mikal, Mikal, Pontiac, Pontiac.
Yeah.
Like I somehow was able to get all of them to be the same thing. So if you type in it on anywhere, it works.
We love brand cohesion.
Yeah, we'll have all that in the description as well for people to check out.
Any name in the title.
That's right.
That's right. There.
Quick interjection from Jeremy Engage from the past.
Exactly.
Before we move on with this beautiful episode alongside Mikal Goodman, we got to read our 5-star reviews.
We do.
We always got to read our 5-star reviews. If you want to have your 5-star review read, go leave it on Apple or DM it to us on Instagram. We'll read it on the show. First one we got here is from Apple. It's our one Apple review this week. It says, "This podcast keeps me from losing it from Who Cares 7777.
Nice.
They say, "As the only progressive living in a house full of fascist-loving Trump supporters, where Fox News is constantly blaring at an ungodly level in a state run by complete and utter morons, Florida, in parentheses.
Nice.
Hiddo is my escape from crazy rhetoric spouted all around me. Being a bisexual woman living in a red state, it's easy to be wary of podcasts starring cis white men. But Jeremy and Gage are well-spoken, well-informed, and honestly completely refreshing with how open-minded and inclusive they are. At this point, Hiddo is my escape from the crazy views around me, and one of the few things keeping the thin tether of my sanity from snapping. Thank you, boys."
Nice.
You know, we thank you. It's crazy that we're getting played in Florida.
No, for real. I feel like a lot of these reviews are coming from Florida. I don't know if it's like the what's that one bias called, where it's like if you either really like something or really hate something, that's what you're gonna like reach out to and like talk about.
I don't know.
It's for like we learned about it in AP Stats.
Well, I don't remember.
This motherfucker got a 5 on the AP Stats exam. And he's out here like he's on the wall.
That was 4 years ago. I am on the wall.
Ridiculous, ridiculous. Ago. Anyway, maybe
thank you for the review.
People in Florida are just so surrounded by bad rhetoric that anything that's mildly good just stands out so much more to them.
True. Yeah.
Because we're not getting many reviews from like New York. You know what I'm saying? Unlike this one right here.
Ooh.
This one's from, I know I'm going to butcher this name, Danish Fayez.
Oof.
Shut the fuck up. my 5-star review. Cheese Danish on Instagram, hailing from upstate New York. Love keeping up to date with each new episode and jumping back in time to brush up on prior topics. The info presented is much appreciated, but the way you guys talk is something that should really be applauded. I really enjoy how you both articulate your points in a manner that's very mature and scratches an itch in my brain that I didn't know I had. After consuming too much of your podcast, I have now been mirroring your way of communicating ideas in my own writing, like in my essays for college, with a lot of success, and I thank both of you. Godspeed, my fellow Americans.
Are you putting us in the works cited, baby?
Nah, that's crazy.
Am I in a bibliography?
Bro's mimicking our style.
Bro saying Johnson and Cosmonopolis.
Johnson Cosmonopolis at all for
Johnson
this
J
episode.
and Cosmonopolis G, comma 2022 or in parentheses 2022.
Yeah, how do you
Head
cite a podcast in MLA or APA format?
I'm sure there's a way. You better be citing us if you're using our arguments.
Bro's
I'm gonna contact
at the
your
bottom
professor.
of a paragraph. You just got Johnson, Gage, Johnson, Cosmonopolis.
Exactly.
Let me get to these other reviews.
I'm gonna reach out to your professor if you're not citing us. I'm gonna get you kicked out of the school for plagiarism.
Real.
Swear to God.
This next one's from Bailey. Hello from sunny San Diego. I found you guys a few weeks back off a TikTok clip and immediately hopped on Spotify to listen to the pod. Being a longtime leftist and criminal justice major without intent to be a cop, but with major intent to sow discord and discontent among conservative policymakers, left me continually seeking out good podcasts to dissect the hellhole that is our nation's capital. Needless to say, I'm very stoked to have found you guys, and you have the lifelong honor of being another pair of my parasocial slimes, alongside the leftist girlies of Bingetopia, who, might I add, you should add to the listening rotation stat. I'll wrap it up by giving you guys a sparkling 6 out of 5 stars and the flattery of having been recommended to my mom. See, now that's an accomplishment. That's one of the goals we have here.
Bailey, I am honored to be amongst your rotation, and shout out to your mom.
Shout out to your mom.
Get your
Hopefully
mom on
I
the
can
show.
be in your mom's rotation. Let's get her as a guest on the show.
Real, exactly. I think we got one more from one of our most valued listeners.
Oh,
One of our day one listeners, if I'm being honest.
Chris the Postman.
That's right.
After many attempts to leave a 5-star review on Apple without owning an Apple product, even downloaded and made an iTunes account, and it still wouldn't let me, I'm going to leave a 5-star review here. He's rated 5 stars on Spotify.
Here we go.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Are you looking for a podcast to get your weekly news with the leftist lean that does not make you want to lose faith in humanity and cry? Well, you need to listen to Head in the Office. These boys deliver the putrid news in a fashion that makes you want to laugh at the ridiculousness while still getting across the seriousness of our country on the verge of falling apart, like what we're going to talk about on today's episode. So give it a listen, rate it 5 stars, and subscribe to the Patreon. Look at this guy. This is a review.
Look, my favorite thing is when people shout out the Patreon in their reviews because they're doing the work.
Because that's,
right? They're putting
that's
it in.
what I love doing.
Exactly. And we're bringing it back,
Patreon.
but before we say goodbye and head back to the rest of the episode, I'm bringing it back. Mandatory comments on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, leave a comment right now.
This is obligatory.
Subscribe, send it to a friend.
Yes.
Look at the Patreon, at least humor us. You know what I'm saying?
Post it on your story.
Exactly.
We'll repost it on our story.
That's right.
Shit like that.
Anyways, back to the episode. So I guess before we get into the news today, I kind of just wanted to talk to you about your experience running, because that's something our listeners will be interested in. Any obstacles you faced? Did you have to so for city council in Pontiac, did you have to join the Democratic Party, run in a primary, anything like that? Just general experience, I guess.
Yeah. So in Pontiac, it's a nonpartisan seat.
Gotcha.
So so having to do the whole primary in the way that we think of it, not necessarily the same. When I ran, really, actually, I got lucky to not have a primary, although I almost did. And I'm not going to say it terrified me, because I will never show fear. But the person who I would have had to run against didn't even live in my district, but she owned a home in my district. And she's known for doing things. Don't get me wrong, I love her to death. I think she does a lot of great community work. But if it became a 3-way primary between me, her, and the incumbent, who was my opponent, it was me or the other challenger will win and make it through, but I don't want to be the person that has to lose to her and then be
right, okay.
So I filed with the county, had to do that paperwork, had the affidavit of identity, all the really simple things that most of us should know how to do by now. But luckily, the city and or the county will straight up tell you what you have to do.
Okay.
Didn't have a primary, thank God, because part of running is gathering signatures. And not only that, getting public support, because the signatures kind of show if people actually want you to be there. But didn't have a primary. If I would have, it would have just been whoever the top 2 candidates were out of whoever ran.
Is that whoever got the most signatures?
So no, in my case, it had just been if we would have all qualified,
Okay.
It would have just been whoever the top 2 vote getters were in the primary, which I was the only candidate who knocked doors in my race. Like when it came out to the race itself, like my opponent had been in office for 12 years. Like she was an old racist white lady, and I have no problem saying that.
Packed her up.
Like no, she literally was a Republican. Like there were so many times where it's like
in Pontiac too. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Well, so I, as a socialist, represent like I think the most conservative section of the city. Like it is the only part of the city that did not vote for Gretchen back in 2018. It didn't, and we're talking about primary because like it's Pontiac. It will always vote Democratic, no matter what in the general. But like they voted for Sri Tanadar of all people back in 2018.
Nice.
Which just means that like none of Democrats voted in my district. And then I remember like knocking doors in my district and coming across Trump flags. Constantly.
Love that.
Or like it's always better when you get to like the subversive racism where like you have to really know the dog whistles. Like when there was a house where like they had like those fucking like Christian inspirational quotes that are like outside someone's door.
Like Philippians 4:13 on the doormat.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you said that wrong.
But they had the Old Rugged Cross poem on a thing in their front yard. Yeah, and it's like if you know that whole Old Rugged Cross, and it's like that's extreme racism.
Yeah,
like if you've seen SpongeBob,
racism too.
You're working for it. You're working for it.
It's like if you've seen SpongeBob, this isn't just darkness. This is advanced darkness. Like that's what the fuck this was. But I raised money because like luckily for me, like I inhabit this really weird space, being like a socialist, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel in a safe space on the internet, just saying like, and not in council chambers, I'm a commie. Like just to put it out there, I am a communist, right? And so when I ran for office, up until that point, like I had done so much work in like the progressive DemSoc, socialist space that most socialists in Michigan inhabit, which is like, we don't like the party, but like we will do work with you. We recognize like the situation that we inhabit here. And like, so over those early years of me being involved, because I'm only 22, so like I didn't get involved for real until after 2018. And just being the progressive voice in the room who was like the normal person, and by normal it's just like their stupid ass definition of I'm a brown person who like the Obama effect is the way I usually describe it. But being able to really like latch on to the, hey, I haven't pissed you guys off too much yet. I may be a socialist, and you all know it. You all know my policies. But are you gonna like allow a Republican to win the seat again after I've done all these amazing things for you and your other candidates? Like recognizing that, like, hey, you need me,
right?
And like being able to like kind of like show that in a race. So, being able to raise money from friends of mine who are in the party who have money, who are like, nope, we want to support a candidate that actually supports things like cracking down heavily on landlords and all those things.
Love that.
So raising that money from like essentially friends, like my campaign was mainly funded by friends of mine or people who had seen the work that I've been doing in progressive spaces. A couple PACs that did things specifically in like criminal justice reform. Obviously, the unions gave money because I'm from Pontiac, but using that money to then like heavily like make sure that, okay, my opponent's not knocking doors, because we did have to loop back to that. Didn't knock doors, didn't have a actual campaign plan, had no like literature.
Wasn't
design.
Gonna try.
No, because like her entire thought was like, oh, like no one's gonna run against me. I've run now for 3 terms. Like, and no one has ever gotten close. Why would it happen this time? And me being 21 at the time, you think that she even looked in my direction?
Absolutely
Definitely not. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was out here like designing my own lit. Like I mailed like 6-7 times. I was knocking doors every weekend. Like you probably remember like Zach Fincher and like Des. Zach and Des were out canvassing with me every single weekend.
That's cool. Yeah.
So like I was the only candidate out there between me and my opponent who was like actually like in people's faces.
Did you receive, or do you think that you received any like weird pushback saying that like you're a socialist and I'm running for your city council? Because you're directly talking to these people.
Yeah. So not really. Like when having the discussion, like, so let's be clear, like I didn't go up to everyone's door and be like, hey, I'm a socialist.
Right.
Like all of my literature is like, if you talk to me or listen to anything that I've said whatsoever, you recognize that I fucking hate capitalism. Like it's like the hatred is always biting. It's always there. And the few times that someone would be like, oh, he's like super progressive, he's a socialist, I'm like, let me explain to you what I mean by socialism.
Yeah.
Like, and I would explain it in like the most like on the level that we're on discussion, where it's like, okay, socialism can mean like obviously democratizing the workplace, workers owning the means of production. Like that's a conversation that we can't have, which in a union town, not the most difficult discussion as long as you frame it that way.
For sure.
But explaining to people like, yeah, socialism does mean like having nice roads that are paved and taken care of. It means like not having failing water infrastructure. It means having public transportation. It means that, you're allowed to live somewhere and not pay half of your income on rent every fucking month. Like it's when you explain it in the like, hey, I want to crack down on landlords. I want to fix our roads. People hear socialism and they're like, oh, well, I like all those things.
Right.
Like as you talk to people, they're like, oh, well, I need these things to happen. I need these public goods. It's like arguably, I'd say that local government is the place in which like leftists shine.
Okay.
Because it's the being
too.
so close to home and being able to say, no, these are the actual issues that are affecting day-to-day people. You're having like the kitchen table like discussions, but policy wise.
Yeah.
Like, one of the main things that I hear back at home is like, we don't have a youth recreation center and we haven't had one for years. And you have no clue how often like everything is tied back to youth recreation in the minds of our citizens, whether it be crime, education, or really anything. It's like, oh, well, these kids don't have a youth center. But when you have that discussion, okay, well, what does a youth center mean? Well, it's youth recreation. Like it's enrichment. But on top of that, it's a safe place with resources that you can provide to people. Arguably, if you do it correctly, you can build all these amazing things to make it a really nice space.
Yeah.
So, like, there are a lot of things that happen there, but, like, obviously running on the issues that are really close to what we care about and really just hammering home on the issues on doors, like, not even getting into the discussion of, like, oh, well, I'm a socialist. It's like, okay, I'm a socialist, but it means this.
Yeah.
And then just really hammering home what it means. People are like, oh, I agree with those things. Those things make sense.
Yeah.
And I did that the entire way to the election. I pretended as if my opponent didn't exist and just ran on the issues. And when we had our first debate, she tried to like attack me character-wise, and she's like, okay, cool, great. Issues. I legit pretended as if she didn't exist the entire election, and then on the debate stage, I did the same thing.
Did she hit you with the, you're a dirty commie, don't vote for him?
Yeah.
No. So the funniest moment was when, because I obviously had timed these things out on the debate stage.
Sure.
And I knew for a fact that the thing that was the biggest issue is I was young. I literally was 21 years old. I was born in the year 2000.
Oh, so was she hitting you with things like, oh, you don't have life experience.
Oh,
how could you really know?
100%.
Oh, goodness.
What does he know about running a city?
Yeah.
Exactly. She was like, what does he know about brownfields and Tifa? It's like, tax increment finance, like that's not difficult. Brownfield, you can learn these things by reading. It's not hard to read a damn thing. Like just because you didn't while you were in office doesn't mean that I'm not going to, right? So I remember on the debate stage, like making sure like, oh yeah, and the reason why I'm qualified for this is not only my experience being a poor black man from the city that I'm now trying to help run.
Yeah.
Like it's not like having experience being like literally on the bottom rung of society in a state that's already on the bottom rung of the county gives me any life experience. But like I'm petty. I will sit here and like read to you all the official reasons why I am better than you.
Nice.
And this moment was just reading off every endorsement that I had. And imagine being in the city of Pontiac where every union has endorsed you, and the only endorsements that she had were from the Oakland County Sheriff's Deputy.
Oh, no. I knew it was going to be police.
The Oakland County Sheriff's Deputy Association, which endorsed her because she chaired the public safety committee for them.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
And because the Sheriff's Association like main building is in my district, which she used to represent.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then also the fire department. And it's like,
Okay.
yep, public safety, I get it. And then, surprisingly enough, this is the thing that I have to, they'll never see it. There was a group of ministers and pastors in my city who, I can't go into too much detail, but I found out like they, as a group, endorsed my opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did find out that like, that endorsement wasn't unanimous.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sick.
So you had some reach in there, some
Right.
influence.
But I like listed every union and every group that endorsed me, and it's kind of ruthless to tell be on a stage full of black voters because this is a black absentee voter city.
Yeah.
and saying on stage, yeah, so I have the endorsement of UAW. I have the endorsement of the sheet metal workers, the pipe fitters, the building trades, IBEW. Like
everybody.
Just going through the list. And then after I did that, she wasted all of her time on her next statement actually giving a really shitty answer to a really ridiculous question.
Okay.
And she tries to then cram in her union endorsements at the end. And they're like, time, you're out of time. She's like, so he can say it and I can't? And they're like, time. They're like, no, bitch, you can't say it.
Wow.
Was it like the same debate format that we see for like bigger like national primaries and stuff? Like you have a minute to talk, 30 seconds to rebut?
Not even. Like, if I remember correctly, it was like you had like 2 minutes and then like, no, we didn't get rebuttals. Actually, we would either get this like either it would be like, hey, you know, here's a question, and if that question is applicable to both of you will answer it.
Okay.
Or if there's a question either way.
Gotcha.
So obviously, I'm not getting any like, what have you done incumbency questions because I haven't been in office. But it was funny because like the questions that they would give us that were like the same question, it would be like, okay, well, what have you done? Like there's a apartment complex in my district that has a lot of problems.
Okay.
And we're not gonna like get into it, but like think what happens when you concentrate poverty and don't give any help, right?
Yeah. For sure.
And so the question was like, you know, what are you gonna do about crime in this area? She immediately talks about like how she helped replace like the boiler systems in these buildings and how like these people didn't have heat, which is the thing. It did happen. Like that apartment complex didn't have heat. It was a ridiculous thing. But we're talking about crime. And then she goes into like, oh, well, we need to make sure that we're, you know, holding them like the residents accountable. And then it's like all these like, essentially, because she used to be an apartment manager.
Of course.
Well, hilarious fact. Not only was my opponent like a former apartment manager, she used to be my apartment manager as a child.
That's awesome.
I lived in Section 8 housing, and she ran where I lived at. I want to say from like when we moved in, it's like 2003 until about 2010.
Okay.
And she was a bitch the whole time then.
I bet.
Like, she was a horrible person. Like she would try to evict you like, oh, like you're a single mom whose like baby father is here to babysit your kid. Well, why is this person who's not on the list here overnight? It's like,
you got a crazy origin story.
No, for real.
That's awesome. Legit. So like when I ran against her, it was just like a full circle prophecy.
Yeah.
Because also at the time, like funny enough, my ex-fiance, her mom and my former opponent's daughter were best friends.
Oh,
because they have the same name.
Yeah,
which is Jamie.
Okay.
And so it's like Black Jamie and White Jamie.
Okay.
But so, you know, I'm like super tied to my opponent. Weirdly, it's like a really, really weird thing.
Personal battle.
History there.
It wasn't even like, intending to be personal. It was just like it just happened to work out that way. But back to the apartment thing. She's giving like these really like standard like Republican personal responsibility answers. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, if we want to address crime, let's talk about resources. Let's talk about like, you know, helping people and making sure. Right. And I'm like touching on like crime and poverty. And like obviously in a city full of black and brown people, that gets applause.
For sure.
Right. Yeah.
And like imagine being on stage as like every answer you give is like you're getting pity claps, if that. And then this young brown man next to you is just killing the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the room is just in roaring applause.
Oh my God.
Awesome, man. Yeah.
And so like it's just like when you recognize that the issues that you should be talking about relate to the people who you're talking to, it's not hard to do the right job.
For sure.
But instead, no, we have someone who just hates on poor black and brown people on a regular basis.
Reach out to the community, do any community outreach, talk to people.
And that's why a 21-year-old was able to, like, again, beat a 3-term incumbent by like 24 points.
You'll be fire.
Literally. It was like, it wasn't even like, oh, we like Tim Moore. It was like, get the fuck out.
For real. We hate you. Please leave.
I guess my last question on this would be, I feel like I have this notion, and it may just be because me and Gage pay attention a lot to like radical politics and like very reactionary politics. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that city councils, school boards, local politics tends to be very reactionary. Is that your experience as well?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. All right.
It's the most interpersonal shit ever.
Yeah.
Like, you don't recognize, like, we look at like the national scale politics constantly, and we're like, oh yeah, that shit's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Like, we laugh at like what happened with like Matt Gaetz almost about to get his ass beat on the floor.
Yeah.
And like recognize that like that shit happens on a regular basis in council
city
chambers.
Councils?
Like
without making the viral moment, so they're doing it because they want
It's
to.
just on meeting minutes. That's where it lives.
well, so there's a part of me that is like telling you this to like just watch some Pontiac City Council meetings. I mean, a key example. So in Pontiac, I can tell you my Tuesday verbatim every Tuesday.
Okay.
A meeting every Tuesday?
Yep, because the same thing will happen every time.
Oh, nice.
So meeting starts at 6 every Tuesday. We are one of the few councils who meet every single week. We come in, we have public comment. We have setting the agenda address. So the first time the public can speak, obviously the actual meeting, public comment, closing comments, end of meeting.
Yeah.
Tell me why every single week, really since I've taken office, the former mayor of Pontiac, who, if no one knew this, we did an internal audit after she left office, after she won. So take a step back. In New Year's Eve, the year before we took office, the previous mayor rented a U-Haul truck.
Okay.
And had city employees and herself loading city documents into this U-Haul truck.
Oh my God, they did the Donald Trump.
That's what I was just
They
about
did the
to
Joe
say.
Biden.
Yes. So we're gonna start there. But we did like an internal audit, and like come to find out, woman incorrectly spent, mishandled.
Oh God.
And we say mishandled because some of the money was mishandling, and the other part of it was like blatant like use of money for personal uses.
Yeah.
Over $1 million.
Oh
There's
my
some-
God.
There's some lore here. That's wow.
And that's like a base, like that's a top level internal audit. We could have gone further.
Just straight up corruption.
Just skimming the top.
in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like one of them was like taking a trip to New York and getting getting like a junior suite.
Oh,
And there was like no conference in New York that she had to go to.
it's just for funsies.
Yeah, or
Just a
like
vacation.
she went to there was a conference I want to say like in Hawaii.
She's like, I want to see what local like Hawaii policy is. I want to see if it's working.
Well, like
there.
conferences and like those things. So the issue wasn't even that. It's that she took a stop in California.
Oh,
And then
nice.
like had to have the city like send her documents that she like had made the city pay like overnight shipping for. It's like you're doing stupid shit. You're just
Yes.
wasting money. But she shows up to every council meeting to criticize the new mayor and council for shit that either we're actively undoing what she did or it's that we're doing the thing in which she complained last week about us not doing, and now she's like, oh, how dare you do that? It's like, what?
dog.
So she does that.
Okay.
And then one of our former council members shows up to every meeting. Well, there were a couple weeks that she was gone.
Okay.
And she solely shows up just to complain and talk shit. She is literally a contrarian.
Wow.
I could show up and be like, I want to pass a resolution saying that the sky is blue. She would walk in there and be like, well, you see, when I was on
Woke
council,
socialist.
Well, the sky actually isn't blue.
it was
It's,
like when I was on council, we used to and it's like, and me and my constituents. First of all, you don't have constituents. You are no longer in
fired.
office. Like you are an ex-employee of the citizens.
God damn.
Like every week they show up.
Uh-huh.
And there's like a literal group of people who like same personalities every week who are just saying things that are absolutely
Just
insane.
a bunch of goons and goobers.
Yeah, and I'm a mean person. I can't just simply
That's
like
okay.
look at a
Yeah,
person
it's
and just
good.
be like, oh, like this person's just a little.
Oh, okay.
little extra. I can
take
deal
that
with
into
it.
consideration.
I can't hide my face.
Mm-hmm.
I physically can't. So when I hear something stupid, it's either stupid to the point where I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Or there's the worst one, which people get a lot, which is the I'm smiling at you because I do think that you are dumb. Like I'm genuinely laughing and nodding in your face. And it's just like, no, because at this point I'm just tired of it. Like none of these things are grounded in
Really?
reality. Stop talking, please. But
You're
also
just wasting minutes.
you're a citizen. You're entitled to your two minutes for agenda address, 3 for public comment. When you're done talking, we will finish and go on about our day.
Right. That's great. I'm glad to
gotta be
know that
stressful.
our hypothesis has been affirmed by you that city
real.
council politics are just insane.
Doing the on the ground work.
Yeah.
No, like personally, if you want to hate the concept of politics and hating people, run for local office.
Be a politician.
Because it's the most interpersonal things. Because even on a congressional level, right? You can have people who hate you in your city and then be like, okay, next city, I don't really give a shit that I'm not here anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
when it comes to like city level things, the people who hate you are like families who like like, hey, me and my family name have been here for 80 years and we're not going anywhere, and you did a thing that hurts our family, so we're gonna do this.
And you see him at the grocery store.
Yeah, or it's like oh yeah, I'm not gonna vote for you because 20 years ago you stole my like sister's pencil and she's hated you ever since then.
God.
It's like it's all like the small like petty like high school shit that like transfers over. It's like
sick.
We are grown ass adults,
especially being like young at 21, because you've got your friends you went to high school with and graduated with.
Well, so like, luckily for me, in my case, the people who I went to school and graduated with, if they lived in my district, they voted for me. Like, let's just be
go. Okay.
Out there. But like it's the older people, because I'm the youngest. I'm 22. Like my family name, like the family name that people would know in my city, I don't have as my actual last name.
Yeah. Okay.
And when I say it, they're like, oh, so you're related to so-and-so. And they love my side of the family.
There you go.
Like my family name is like golden.
Nice.
I just never use it. But meanwhile, like you'll like have like actual policy discussions that are getting entirely derailed solely because someone was someone's friend back in like middle school and they did a thing and now people are upset. And it's like, I don't give a fuck. I want to pass this ordinance about housing, and we're here complaining about someone's house not being like up to code because you hate them because they let their dog shit in your yard 30 years ago. Like I don't care.
Someone's coming and complaining they actually didn't cut their grass. Yeah, I was your math teacher in 7th grade, and I remember you didn't turn this one assignment in.
You're actually dog shit at the times tables. You could not finish those. How can we trust him to be a city councilman if you can't finish that? If you couldn't
finish your times tables, you couldn't do 100 multiplication problems in 3 minutes. How can you be trusted to run the city of Pontiac?
No, but that's the most insane shit, yeah.
But it's true. That's really what it comes down to half the time. It's like, why? Why are we doing this? We're adults.
What are we doing here? Yeah.
Foul.
Nice.
Foul. Adults really are just children.
No.
They are.
Adults do not have shit figured out. The only thing that I've learned from doing politics, more so than just growing up and being an adult, is that the people who are supposed to know shit in the room don't know shit.
Nice.
Absolutely not. Everyone's just winging it.
Literally.
Nobody has
Everyone's winging it.
Well, speaking of winging it, I think we can get right into the news and talk about our first story here, which is all about winging it, actually.
That's right.
We're talking about the debt ceiling again, and no exaggeration, as we expected, the Republican Party has announced kind of officially that they are going to hold the economy hostage until they get budget cuts, holding it hostage by not raising the debt ceiling. And they might kill the hostage, as they've threatened to do, which has never happened before, but might happen. And we'll get into what happens if that does happen. But we knew that more insane members of the GOP, they were planning on not raising the debt ceiling. We knew that the 20 holdouts that were voting against Kevin McCarthy back when the speakership vote was going on, we knew that they wanted to be able to press the big red button. And it seems like they might get what they want because more moderate members of the GOP House in more swing districts, even districts that voted for Biden, have said that they're not going to back a, quote, clean debt ceiling raise, which means they won't vote to raise the debt ceiling without something being paired with it. And we're going to assume it's budget cuts, which we'll get to.
Getting rid of Social Security.
In a little bit, right.
What's his name? Chuck Grassley's all up in this bill. Like, let's get rid of it, guys. Come on, this is the easy one.
So for listeners that may not know, I want to go into exactly what the debt ceiling is. You know, we've gotten some new listeners. We got some new people listening to the show, and I don't want to leave them behind. So for several decades, since about like the 1970s, the United States government has ran at a deficit, except for under Bill Clinton. There was a few years there where we ran at a surplus, meaning that we spend more money than we bring in through taxation and other sources, et cetera. So to pay for everything that Congress votes to pay for, we have to borrow money, right? And the Treasury Department is in charge of borrowing this money, managing the debt, taking on debt from other countries that we use in the form of U.S. bonds, right? So we sell our U.S. bonds, countries buy it, we're indebted to them, and then we pay for the services we need to pay for. But the Treasury, as of like, I think after World War II, has a ceiling on how much they can borrow and pay for. Yeah. A ceiling on how much they can pay interest, on how much more they can borrow to pay for the things Congress says we had to pay for. And that's the debt ceiling. To be clear, the money's already been spent at this point. When the Treasury's borrowing money or they're paying interest, the money's gone, right? The Treasury just handles the debt that Congress has already authorized to be taken on. Not raising the debt ceiling doesn't mean we spend less. It doesn't mean the deficit goes down. The money's not there anymore. And I've seen a lot of Republicans say something along the lines of like, well, we need to not raise the debt ceiling because the budget deficit needs to go down, right? Like we need to lower the national debt. And it's like, the money's gone. The money's already gone. There's nothing that lowering the debt ceiling is going to do. And if the debt ceiling isn't raised, means we can't pay interest on our loans. We can't take out or we can't sell new U.S. bonds, which means that we default on our debt. and the stock market plunges, interest rates spike. We can't pay for social programs like the military or Social Security, veterans benefits, that kind of thing.
Government employees don't get paid.
Basically means like Great Recession, akin to the Great Depression. So that's fun. And that's something Republicans are
bad, not good.
That's basically where we're at right now. Yeah,
I will say bad, not good.
Yeah.
So that's the name of an actual band, right?
Oh yeah, it kind of gas too. Time Moves Slow is a good song.
Oh, so ignoring Time Moves Slow, right? So funny enough, I have a record player.
Okay,
I have that record on vinyl. The album number 4. But it blows my mind, right, that we just allow the government to have like a button. Essentially, that they're just allowed to be like, you know what?
Ridiculous.
We just want everything to come to a screeching halt.
The global economy too, because like the world relies on the interest that we pay through U.S. bonds. It's seen as like the safest investment that you can make because we always pay it back. Yeah. Because we're a government. We're the biggest country in the world, or we're the wealthiest country in the world. We always pay this stuff back. And for the debt ceiling to not be raised and for us to default on our loans would be disastrous for the entire globe. In terms of like the financialization of our current markets, yeah,
and the fact that we're allowing like 228 individuals just like hold the world market hostage. Do you know what would happen if a different country did this? What would the U.S. do?
We'd invade. If China did this, it'd be crazy. You would never stop hearing about it on Fox News. Like, I can't imagine.
No, we would literally do a coup, replace their government, and make them do what we want. That's nuts.
You would be out. He'd be out.
So, like, it blows my mind because like I think the worst part in all of this is that I feel like the big red button that we keep allowing them to push would be less of an issue if like we legit, and this is me speaking from the outside of the house, so me being right, because like before I got on council, I used to say things and it's like, okay, it makes a little more sense now.
Yeah,
some of it was still stupid, right?
For sure.
So like I look at this and I think, why are there not more people? And I say on our side, I mean it loosely. When I say our side, I do truly kind of mean like the more progressives of the group, or the people who just like to shit stir.
Real.
Because like, let's be clear, we do have centrists who are Democrats who just simply want to just cause problems or like have their face be out there.
They call themselves the Problem Solvers Caucus.
And then they go to the World Economic Forum and fist bump.
Yeah. But like, imagine having those people just say like, oh yeah, no, the reason why your grandma's not getting health care tomorrow is because the Republicans decided they're not going to pay it. Yeah. Oh, like your grandma can't pay rent tomorrow? I can tell you exactly who did that. Like being able to just straight up say like, nope, the reason why like your dad is a federal worker and like you can't have like Christmas, or why you don't have school uniforms right now, why you don't have food, this person,
why you suddenly can't afford your car payment.
Yeah, just straight up, just cutting all like the bullshit. Like, oh well, we have to work together to get this done. No, start pointing fingers, being like, nope, this is the person. This is the actual thing that's happening.
We've been saying this for so long. If the Democrats in Congress just got up there and just started pointing fingers, like, and even I guess part of it is that rhetoric and discourse in this country is absolutely so fucked that you can't engage with people who are unwilling to engage with you, right? Because you can point to things like the baby formula shortage and gas prices, and you can say, well, we tried to pass bills, but all 50 Republicans in Congress voted no against them, and they couldn't get through.
See, no,
they just say, well, we shouldn't have got to this point anyway.
See, I'm meaner than that. I'm the type of I am the person who's like, no, I will sit here and give you every single step of the way where this stupid shit happens.
As you should.
Because like to me, there is the part of speaking as a person who has to deal with like the Democratic Party, right?
Yeah.
So recognizing that when I say people to the right of me, I'm still talking about people who are
liberals,
and being able to, like, I recognize that within our own room, being like, hey, I'm not going to completely put you on blast, but if you do some real fuck shit,
get ready.
I'm going to let you know. There is no courtesy once you leave my side of the room. Oh, so when it comes to the Republicans, it's like, nope, I will remind you of every single failing that you did to get here. And like, to me, it just, to me as a person who, when I ran in Pontiac, like a lot of people are not politically engaged. Like the reason why I haven't done polling, but like my approval rating is probably one of the highest of all the council members because no one really yells at me because I'm the age that I am. But also I am a person who is just straight to the point. I don't do any like oh, well, I'll look into that and I think we should do this. Like there are meetings where I like straight up just look over at the mayor and I'm like, So this thing needs to happen, and the fact that it hasn't happened, like, I do not give a fuck.
You don't pussyfoot around the issue
because there's no point.
Exactly.
Also, people elected me to do literally my job. Like my job is to hold you accountable and to represent my people. That's what I'm going to do.
You got to be a dickhead sometimes.
I'm going to advocate for him.
Yeah.
Right. So like the reason why people who have told me to my face, like, hey, I don't politically agree with you on a lot of things. I think that some of the shit that you say is like some really crazy socialist shit. But I know at the end of the day, you're not going to bullshit me.
Yeah.
You're not going to you're going to fight for what actually needs to be fought for.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of merit in being able to be. So, for example, I had a friend that ran for city council. No, ran for mayor down in Adrian. Will Garcia, if you know that name. He's actually the co-chair of Huron Valley DSA.
Nice.
And the idea of like a socialist mayor in Adrian is like, what the fuck? That's rural country, but it's like, this is a man who does skilled trade work, works for a municipality, is a union person who comes from like a farm town, has lived there his entire life, knows what it means to be in a rural area, but knows how socialist messaging and issues affect all sections of life. And he only lost his race by I think like 72 votes.
Damn.
Okay, damn.
In the city of Adrian as a socialist.
Yeah.
And it's like,
basically won.
Right. and
Stop the count.
like, stop the count, no more. But like being able to like really be like, nope, these are the things that are happening. These are the people I can point at, and being able to say that without really any issue. So back to the debt ceiling.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there are not more people who are like taking the time to be like, nope, give me that CNN spot. Give me that that NBC spot. Shit, let me come on Fox News. I'll go there and I will sit there and rip you fuckers to your faces about every single thing that you didn't do. And I'm so me being petty. One of my favorite things I did is like going to the county commission offices and like talking about public transit because the Republicans were like hating on expanding public transit.
Yeah.
Of course they are.
And I spent my entire 3 minutes public comment in front of the commissioners ripping on the Republicans from the Republican perspective. I'm like, yeah, you want economic development? You want people to like develop in your town? You want these things to happen? Guess how you do that? Public transit. Yeah. And I reamed them with the most like fiscal like thought process ever. And it's like, yeah, by speaking your own language, you also recognize how fucking stupid you sound.
You're wrong from both sides.
It's the cognitive dissonance that they have to like. It's that space they have to be in to be able to push the rhetoric that they do push. And it's like there is so much to just speaking candidly as a politician, right? Because that's the whole thing. Everybody politics around all their answers. It's like, well, yeah, I'll get to that. My office, we're working really hard to look into this. Everyone knows you're not. Everyone knows you're speaking disingenuously. And as much as Trump spewed bullshit, that's kind of what people liked about him because they thought that he was real. Yeah. Even though he wasn't, he's a fucking billionaire.
I think a lot of the time, and we've talked about this plenty on the pod, I think people just want to see someone they've elected to be pissed off with them. Yeah. So many times they just like they have this anger and this insecurity they feel about whatever their situation is, and they just feel like people aren't fighting for them as they should be. And I think that reflects a lot on like especially the Democrats in the Senate that just they don't get angry like they should. No. Like it is Republicans that are stopping you from getting, say, the child tax credit that's no longer in place because of them. And if you show that kind of fury, especially when you can't get something done, it kind of just I don't know. I think it resonates with people.
I mean, it'll be great to see what like John Fetterman does now that this fucking big Sasquatch of a man from Braddock is in there.
The largest bald man they could find,
But I mean, you're right because looking at like the members of the squad, right?
Yeah.
I think immediately off the top of our head, we know which squad member gets the least amount of shit from the socialists. It's Rashida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Rashida openly and actively is a person who's like, oh no, I'm pissed off. And I'm going to let you know that I'm pissed off. I have no problem telling you
she's
that.
She's great, yeah.
Be it, she's from Detroit. Like she's a brown woman from Detroit. Like she's going to tell you that she's pissed off. It's a default setting.
Yeah.
And like to your point, there's a reason why even when she got primaried by someone who had money, I think coming from AIPAC, like it was not even a touchable race.
Yeah. Because
Rashida is loved by her district because of how she is. The honesty, the straightforwardness. I mean, like the first thing that she did when she won was, oh, we're going to impeach that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we used to only hear that level of candidness from the Republicans or when Beto O'Rourke was trying to be cool. And like,
yeah, didn't work. It always came off so weird for him.
Anti-cool.
It made me funny to you, motherfucker.
What's up, cool kids with the fucking skateboard on their shoulder? But like, in the context of the conversation, like it would be useful to have like Democratic reps or shit, even if the Republicans who. That's the thing that blows my mind. Is like there is a bit of cohesion that the Republicans can benefit from simply by just having like the "you will fall in line" mindset,
and just representing straight white America.
Yeah, but like you know how much it would benefit some of them to be like, oh no, the reason why you insert white person from the trailer park cannot pay their bills today is because other white person who I currently hate at the moment is also doing fuck shit.
Yeah,
because it's less about you shitting on your colleague and more like, oh no, I'm showing you that even within the Republican side, I am more on the ground than they are.
Well, see, but that's the problem though, is that when Republicans do that, it's this person that's doing it. It's like the immigrants that are taking your jobs, black people in inner cities, welfare queens, or even just the Jews sometimes.
Even when it is them pointing at other Republicans, it's people like Matt Gaetz pointing at Kevin McCarthy and saying Kevin McCarthy is a rhino, and I actually want to move the country further right.
Right.
It's them being disingenuous and lying about the issues, and then ultimately still scapegoating the Jewish community, black and brown people, and all these other marginalized communities.
Yeah, and then like and the Democrats do really nothing to.
And they do nothing to push
it's the
back.
ratchet effect.
Yeah, oh my god!
Getting back to the debt ceiling here, though, I do have two interesting points. First is that Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen said that we already hit the debt limit last Thursday, but we're now taking quote extraordinary measures to continue to pay the interest on our debt so we don't default. I don't know how this works.
I don't.
If we hit the debt limit, I feel like they're just moving money around in like the government's accounts, trying to make things work so that we don't fall under. But she said this will last until like June.
All I'm saying is that this just reminds me of like a good argument for modern monetary theory.
Absolutely.
It's like we recognize that these things are already paid for, which actually brings me to a really solid point of like the fact that we could just cancel all student loan debt because it's already been paid for.
It's not real.
We recognize that debt isn't real.
Yeah, it's like it's all already paid for. These schools have been paid their money.
Yeah,
but like you're hearing it's like, oh well, technically we're fine until June. So then the discussion that we are having is kind of one that is just happening for the sake of political discourse.
Yeah.
It to me, the debt ceiling feels like literally a political football. It is a thing that we have to be reminded of every now and then, that our entire lives can come screeching to a halt.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though, is that the other thing I was going to bring up is that this only ever happens because of Republicans.
Yeah.
There's never been a time where the Democratic Party threatened to not raise the debt ceiling to get something that they want. It's only ever been Republicans under a Democratic president. No other time has this been employed. Not even when Democrats held the House and Donald Trump was the president.
Well, it's because like the missions here, like we show the Democrats, but at the very least, they have, if not a personal and philosophical interest in doing what's good for the people, they have a vested electoral reason to do so.
Yeah.
Like even if they themselves, like Joe Manchin, like hate everything that they're doing because he is a Republican, let's be real.
Yeah.
At the very least, he won't do things that will immediately cost him his base.
Tank the global economy.
Right. And so like Republicans, to them, it's the idea like they're conserving. They're stopping the Democrats. They're being the stalwarts to hold back the floodgates of Democratic spending.
Exactly.
And also it serves a function because like recognize that if the Democrats actually did things that they ran on, we would win. We wouldn't lose. Like, do you know what would happen if we passed not even socialized medicine? If we even had
if Obamacare worked.
Right. If we had an actual public option.
Yeah.
If we had not even free 4-year college, but like shit. There are like every state must have like so many universities that have to be like low
just
income.
Community college was free.
Like the small, simple shit we would win. And so like the debt ceiling serves as a like immediate, again, like a red button. Like, nope, gates closed. Don't even get a chance to do a good thing.
Yeah, we don't have a country anymore. That's what that does.
Because then they get to make the argument of like, oh, you see how ineffectual they were? You see what happens when they had power and they just didn't do anything? Which they weren't they were going to do anything regardless.
No.
But
and that's the Republican argument here, is that the only reason we need to raise the debt ceiling is because Democratic spending is out of control. That's the argument they've been making.
That's the crazy shit to me, because that's just not true.
Yeah.
Under Trump, it's a stat I bring up all the time. He raised the national debt. He raised the deficit more than any other president before him had raised the deficit pre-COVID. I think by the end of his presidency, after COVID and all, he had raised the deficit $3 trillion.
Yeah.
Fucking insane.
That's what doing massive tax cuts for the rich will do to you.
Exactly. All while riding the coattails of Obama's economic recovery.
Yeah,
from 2008.
And like the other like really rough part about it is like, again, messaging is such a huge thing, because all these small business owners are like, oh, the Republicans are fighting for me. Do you not recognize that like most economic development happens under Democratic administrations?
Yeah.
Because Democrats like to spend money.
Yeah.
Because again, money concept, questionable. But like the fact that we as a country print our own money, literally, we run our own currency for the most part. We have a lot of flexibility in things that we can do.
We're the only country that can do that, by the way.
Right.
No other country could do that, otherwise their economy would tank.
Yeah.
But the world is basically based on USD, so we can just print money.
And so with that concept, like when Democrats are in charge, they tend to spend money. And while that money being spent may not be in the best place, economic development just happens.
Yeah.
And so
it's crazy how when people have more money, they do more things.
when people have more money in their pockets, they want to consume more.
It's almost like those
101.
COVID checks like proved something immediately.
Real.
And then also like the article that like trickle down economics doesn't work, right? Combining those two things. So like it blows my mind that like Democrats also don't lean into the fact of like, hey, when we're in charge, more money gets spent in your downtowns. And like as a Republican business owner, your desire is always about money. It's always about growth. So like ignoring how you feel politically, economically, your best interest is just, I'll accept the Democrat, because during that time, people are going to be spending a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
It even goes back to like minimum wage discourse, right?
Yeah.
Like the more money people have in their pockets, even if you're paying, even if at fast food, no one should be working at fast food to support a family. It should just be high schoolers. Even if high schoolers are making $15 an hour, right? In your ideal situation, they got more money to spend. High schoolers aren't throwing money into a Roth IRA.
No.
They're not throwing money into a 401k. They're going and consuming. That's what they're doing. They're recirculating money into the economy.
Conservatives just get tricked so easily by the culture war issues, I think.
It's insane.
Because it is white America that is implicitly, I think, or maybe sometimes explicitly, maybe more often explicitly, like just afraid of people of color, of women being in positions of power, and that immediately pushes them more towards
our children.
Trans people in the inner cities and in the schools, transing our kids. They get so easily pushed into conservative ideologies, which completely run counter to what would actually help them.
Yeah.
Right. And also, it's like every time we have a conversation about the debt ceiling, it goes away. The problem gets solved.
Yeah.
Things keep happening. The ball gets kicked down the road until the next Democratic administration where the Republicans win and want to be a dick about it. We're at some point, I would hope that people begin to realize the things that we've realized, which is like, wow, like this is a concept that has implications, but let's be real. It's bullshit.
It has implications because we made it had implications. And like that's another thing that debt ceiling discourse does. And even if we're bringing it back to like modern monetary theory, I'm not an expert. I know like some of the general things about it. Debt ceiling discourse really just serves to keep us buying into the system because it only works because we buy in it. The concept of debt and how through capitalism you have to go through constant like cycles of recessions in order for economic growth to happen. And we only push those out of the poor people. That's only a thing because we kind of buy into it.
Yeah.
We make it happen. We could change these things.
Yeah. So I guess the question then becomes like, what's the solution here? Obviously, get rid of the debt ceiling as a function at all would be a nice thing. Just about every other country doesn't do this. I think you said it was just Switzerland.
Us and either Switzerland or Sweden were the only two countries that have debt ceilings based on like an absolute dollar amount. Every other country that has a debt ceiling does it based on a percentage of GDP.
Yeah, so lacking the House actually deciding to pass something, the only solution I've seen tossed around is Joe Biden minting the $1 trillion coin and depositing it into the U.S. bank account, which is something that people have hypothesized the Treasury can do, but of course has other implications down the road.
Shit, bro, give me that coin.
How ridiculous that is, yeah.
Like, recognize how ridiculous the problem that we're having is.
The Biden coin.
If the president
is even more ridiculous.
like this feels like a fucking Super Mario solution.
Yeah.
Like, wow, Bowser somehow stole all of the coins in the Mushroom Kingdom. So what does Princess Peach must do? Mint a singular coin.
$1 trillion.
Princess Peach is going to borrow against the value of a star and print $1 trillion coin.
It's ridiculous.
But the fact that the solution can literally be, hey, let me mint this expensive ass coin.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just deposit it.
And then I'm going to steal it.
And problem solved for temporarily. What? Then it's not an actual problem.
It's not real.
It's absurd. If you can make up the solution, why can't we make up a better solution?
Yeah.
The solution's called post-capitalism.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think so. A long run, I think Republicans will crack on this before June, obviously, when like the time is up, quote unquote, because you only need 218 votes in the House to pass something. And then I think there's not enough radical Republicans in the Senate that will hold this up. Eventually 10 of them will break the filibuster and vote for it.
And it's also, this same discourse happened, what was it, like 8 months ago?
Yeah. No, this happened
Mitch
recently.
McConnell was refusing to raise the debt ceiling, and then they extended the limit that they can raise it by, which how the fuck can you do that if this is a real issue? I can't extend the date that my rent is due. Come on now. Like, I can't just do that. So it's fake.
The problem comes in, though, for the Republicans is that, so for this bill to get to the floor, McCarthy's got to do it. Right. There's other ways that you can get a bill to the floor. Like there's some petition that you can file to override the will of the speaker, but that takes quite a long time. So eventually I think McCarthy brings this to the floor. And if he does that, is he like out or is he just going to lose his job?
Oh, yeah, because they can just fire him.
Right.
They can just put up a vote to fire
There's
him.
20 of them that want to press the button.
And
I would think that they're probably going to try to do it. So he's in a tough spot for sure. Global economy, stay the speaker. Which one is it going to be, Doug? You see, and I feel like it's, like, if you get elected to Congress, I feel as though it's your number one job to not tank the global economy.
It's your number one job
Like,
to
it's the
make
one
life,
thing you can't do.
to not make life harder for your constituents.
Well, so like let's also talk about like Kevin McCarthy just kind of being like a dumbass who knew what he was getting himself into.
Yeah.
He should have just backed off from the speakership.
Yeah. So exactly my point. So in Pontiac, we changed the city council rules when we took office to make it to where instead of electing president and pro tem every for a 4-year term, which coincides with council, we changed it to where it is reevaluated every single year.
Nice.
And part of that was just because, like, hey, in case we ever need to change course, we can do so.
Yeah.
But even when I did that, it was never the intention of, oh, I want to be council president, because in my mind, I am the radical socialist.
Yeah.
Who will be looked at forever as the radical socialist. And you think that I want to herd these 6 cats that are my colleagues?
Absolutely not. No.
And like, don't be wrong. So I'm not gonna like say numbers because I'll start leaving people out. But like, there is like some of my colleagues I obviously like more than others.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And there's like, yeah,
me too.
Even amongst like those of you who I see on a regular basis, I sometimes feel certain ways about you. Mm-hmm. And like, I would never want to be in the position of hurting some of my specific colleagues. I would never want to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
So imagine Kevin McCarthy being like, you know what I want to do? I want to sit here and choose to herd the largest population of cats that will piss on my carpet and tear up my couch, including the ones that love to be outside cats talking about the 20 dipshits. Right?
Yeah.
Like, why would you openly be like, yeah, for the longevity of my career, I'm going to herd these dumb fuckers?
I don't know. I think it's got to be pride for Kevin McCarthy.
100%
He wants the
pride.
painting that
Either
says
or, like,
Speaker
the
of the
fucking
House.
ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's definitely both. He wants the bust of him. He wants the painting up of him. He wants to be in the hallway in the history books. But yeah, I mean, he's tied his hands behind his back. He can't do anything without losing his job. And he's fucked in every way. There's nothing he can do.
And it's just the concessions that he made are fucking ridiculous.
He's the weakest speaker in history.
I don't think that we have it in the show
Imagine
notes.
Nancy giving this much up to the
Never. It
God.
or Hakeem Jeffries. Oh my God. Like, we will never get a thing, but here goes Kevin McCarthy being like, oh, you want that? Here.
No, it never would have happened because the Democrats never cede anything to the more radical wings of the party. It doesn't happen.
Oh my God, he had to cede things that are like things that you wouldn't think a Republican would bring up, like that it kind of on the surface makes sense. Like, we don't have it in the show notes, but there was a bill that Kevin McCarthy has to bring up by virtue of his agreements to become speaker that would make it that they would eliminate the IRS,
Yes,
eliminate federal income tax, eliminate all tax except sales tax, and instead it would be a 30% sales tax, and that's how the government would make money.
crushing the working class.
Do you know how much money you have to make to have a 32% like tax bracket?
I have not a clue.
You have to make in between $360,000 a year and $440,000 a year. It's something like that to be able to be charged 32% just at that rate.
So, let's be clear. I'm too poor to worry about my tax rates.
Same. I was a student racer.
And I think that's a lot of people. Yeah.
But the reason why I say that, like, I make like $56,000 a year. I work two jobs. I work a job. I'm on council, so I have like the income that I have to do that with. But I just mark like zero.
Yeah, okay.
I mark zero withholding, and then I do my taxes, like which will be coming up soon here. But like I don't think about that. But I know good and damn well it's not 30%.
Exactly.
But it might be on your sales tax if Republicans get their way.
which is
crazy,
baffling, because like Michigan is 6%.
Yeah.
When I lived in California, it was 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and there are also some states that have no sales tax whatsoever.
Facts.
Just after they were talking about how like the gas tax was hurting Americans and how we needed to get rid of the gas tax.
But it's 30% sales tax.
30% sales tax is great,
Amazing.
guys, because it gets rid of income tax
On the working class
But
that
it gets rid of income tax.
spends all of the money they get in each of their checks.
But it's literally just a tax raise on poor people.
I mean, but like even if you do like simple math, right? Like, so if you're a poor person, you can kind of figure out what your like tax withholdings are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just realistically you do like whatever your income is times 0.8. Like you can guesstimate 20% of your income is being taken away.
Yeah.
So recognize that as a poor person, now you're getting 10 extra % removed from you that you are now just paying for
Exactly.
shit.
Exactly. It's fucking insane. Like everyone's taxes, the less money you make, effectively, the more taxes you're paying. Because as you go up, right, and as you start to have these other, not illicit means of making money, well, illicit in some ways, but these other means of making money, like from stock market, the capital gains tax is axed. You're just getting free money from having more money. Yeah. Like it's just an infinite money glitch, literally.
all I'm hearing is that the Republicans are creating a wormhole into the future in which the U.S. is France again.
Yeah.
That's all I'm noticing.
Yeah, I mean, because you got to
do like cake.
You got to think about the strategy is like, so they refuse to raise the debt ceiling unless it's paired with something, which means that they're trying to push forward their policy goals at threat of tanking not only the U.S. economy, but the global economy, because their policies are so unpopular that this is the only way they can do it, is by literally forcing the Democratic president to sign it into law.
They complain about cancel culture. They say, I'm going to tank the world economy, versus when Democrats want to get something done, I don't know, they're mean to you on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, to me, like the worst part is there was not enough of a like concerted effort on our side to like make the Republicans be afraid. Because like, in my mind, right, the Republicans on a regular basis after every election, they literally write their opponents' ads for them. Mm-hmm. Imagine the candidate. It's like from like rural middle of nowhere. Like take some random candidate from fucking Arkansas.
Yeah.
And they're like, so I worked for the Air Force.
Yeah.
And during the debt ceiling, I like didn't have any, like I had no money.
Yeah.
And not only did I have no money, like it caused me and my family to be homeless, couldn't pay my car loans. My daughter like couldn't continue to go to this very normal public school that we pay for. And now like being able to be like, nope, my life tanked because of your bullshit.
Yeah.
And being able to take that rural America standard person, like, you know how easy it would be in all of these rural ass states to just pick up your random ass, like hick farmer who just understands progressivism. Like, imagine if you like took Wayne from Letterkenny and just gave him all of the knowledge of fucking like actual federal policy.
Because it's like you don't even have to go that crazy with it too. You can just go to like, I'm a person who lives in rural America. I have a wife and I don't know, 4 or 5 fucking kids, right? Yeah. We have to have 2 cars or nothing's getting done. The kids can't go to school. The debt ceiling shit happened, caused me to default on one of my car loans and my car got repossessed. Now my kids can't fucking get to school because the bus doesn't come out here because we live in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Also,
what am I supposed to do?
All schools are now private. We have to pay $30,000 in tuition.
Betsy DeVos is the Secretary of Education. Schools are private.
And 30% sales tax is applied to that. I mean, the world Republicans want to create it's France. Yeah, it's just France.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolute hell.
That's it. Like, so that, I guess that sums it up on where we're at with the debt ceiling. I guess we'll see where this goes. It's going to be a recurring news story through June, it looks like. So maybe longer.
Which is the dumbest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they could extend it because you can do that. If you just vote for it, then that makes the rules work.
Talking about geopolitics, though.
I love it.
Talking about geopolitics. Speaking of, crashing the global economy, I guess on the other side of the global economy from, Republicans trying to collapse it is the elite that run the global economy. Which is why we got to talk about the book.
On this conversation.
No, we're not going there. We're talking about the World Economic Forum. The 2023 edition of the World Economic Forum just occurred last week, and there's been a lot of right-wingers that have just been uncontested posting basically Jewish conspiracy theories about, the global cabal of the elites running the world and sucking blood out of your children or whatever. For those that don't know, the World Economic Forum, it's a group that meets in Davos, Switzerland once a year for annual meetings. They discuss all matter of economic and social issues, like war, supply chains, the environment, COVID, energy, economics, investment, basically everything you can think of. And people invited to these events are, heads of state officials, CEOs, corporations.
Billionaires.
I mean, it's like the richest, most powerful people you can think of meeting in one room and talking
Donald
about
Trump, right?
Yeah,
well, Donald Trump actually did speak at one of these in 2020 when he was president, which is
because
funny.
he was a head of state,
not because
he
of
was
his
rich.
wealth or anything.
Exactly.
No.
Which is also just crazy to think about that. Like, yeah, we're gonna have the most important people in the world come out, the people who really like shape global culture, shape how the world runs and how the world works, heads of state, presidents, shit like that, congressmen, and billionaires.
And also like whatever man has like a fuck ton of Pokemon Yellow seals.
that one guy who's got like 80 Charizards PSA 10s.
Well, he's the wealthiest person in the world. Yeah. So just to give a summary, the World Economic Forum, they just host these events where like leaders, capitalists, etc., can come together. It was started by this dude named Klaus Schwab, which is the most German name I've ever heard in my life. But a quote from Reuters says, Schwab's goal was to create a forum for policymakers and top corporate executives to address major global issues and learn best practices for leadership and management. I don't see, like, from the outside, this is just a basic meeting of like the richest fuckheads ever.
It's a college course in depression.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's nothing out of the ordinary. These people, these kinds of people, meet all the time. The global, the richest people in the world, global capitalists. They meet with heads of state, make deals that we never know about. It's really nothing out of the ordinary for capitalism.
No.
And in recent years, and the reason we're talking about this today is that the World Economic Forum has kind of become a focal point for right-wing conspiracy theories. Right-wing conspiracy theories that like to talk about, liberal elite as a euphemism for anti-Semitic dog whistles, and just general, conspiracy theories about, the Jews running the world is basically what
These
this
are the
serves
people
as.
that run the world, and they're going to trans your kids and do cancel culture on you. That's what they're doing in these backdoor meetings.
You're gonna trans your kids, meanwhile we're letting fucking 8-year-olds wear Hooters shirts.
No,
Like I know you've seen that post.
Literally.
Yeah, or we take our young kids to Hooters.
It's not even that one post.
Child
it's
pageants.
culture.
Yeah, exactly. And at the recent World Economic Forum, just I think last week, there's a couple of interesting points. The first one was like energy and climate was the top of one of the top issues that they talked about. And the right has used that as a means of saying like, oh, the World Economic Forum is a left-wing organization then, because they're talking about climate change. But first of all, one, it's just propaganda to make it so liberals don't get mad at them. And also, oil and gas companies were there speaking, and their role in climate change when they're the ones causing the problem. It's bogus, completely bogus. But also another fun point was that Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema were there. And at this event,
so cringe.
They were on some panel where they promised to not overturn the filibuster and get rid of it, and then they high-fived and the crowd clapped for them.
They gave them a standing ovation.
Yeah.
For saying they're not going to get rid of the filibuster. Look at these soldiers of modern democracy.
See, it's that shit right there that I wish the dark Brandon shit was so fucking real.
Yeah.
Because specifically with that last part, Cinema and Manchin, it blows my mind that Biden is not just doing what I would if I was president, what I would do.
Yeah.
He'd be like, okay, so here's this piece of legislation, and I expect you to vote for it. And if you don't, that's amazing, great for you. I personally will be in your home state finding a primary candidate, heavily fund them. I will be there knocking doors myself for them there while you are there.
Yeah.
And I will actively let everyone know that I'm supporting them and not you. And I will make sure that you never do a thing ever again in your fucking life.
Especially in a
That's
place like
what should
Arizona.
be happening in Arizona or in my mind.
Yeah.
And this is a thing that might come back to haunt me. Like,
Okay.
if I was Biden, I'd be like, look, West Virginia, I'm sorry, you're Republican now. All these other states where we can win things, absolutely. Like, I would be like,
For sure.
Georgia's permanently blue. I'm not letting that go away.
Yeah.
Arizona, bye, Kristen. Give me something else. I would just be burning shit. Where it's like, you will either allow me to pass legislation to do shit so we can keep winning, or I will allow you to get burnt in the fire on the process.
Yeah.
And so,
as you should.
And so, like, that's that comment. The whole like World Economic Forum thing. Like the thing that blows my mind is that like we have just become so okay with just hating Jewish people.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like let us not remember not that long ago when all of us played Call of Duty. All of us knew that like, damn, we're shooting Nazis. That's the thing that should be happening because they are the bad guy. There is no question mentally of like Nazis, bad guy. Jewish people.
I don't know about that one. We posted a fucking clip on TikTok where we started it off with "There are no good Nazis," and the comments were something fierce. They were like, I don't know, like that clip got like 500,000 views. The comments were nuts. There were so many people, and they're like, "What about Schindler, huh? What about Schindler?" It's like, dog, you don't have much to work with. What are you doing?
I mean, I'll say it as a council person. There are no good Nazis.
Exactly.
None. Not a single one. Like
by definition, you can't be a Nazi and good at the same time.
History's villains.
No,
like history's greatest villains.
Like there are. Obviously there's the discussion that like one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yeah, not with the Nazis.
Thank you. Like this is the situation in which it does not apply. But like, it's also really weird because like, it's like this weird like middle space that we're having to walk, which is not that anti-Semitism is fine.
Yeah,
people are recognizing that damn, rich people are the issue.
Yeah,
thank you for clicking that point. But the unfortunate immediate next thought is, well, I've been told that rich people are Jewish, therefore the rich people who I hate are Jewish people.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, pause, hard pause. Like, let's take 1,000 steps back.
Yeah.
Capital, yes, 100% the issue. We should be discussing that. But we have also kind of just we have allowed the rich to control their own conversation, and we have allowed the rich themselves to also use their internal war amongst themselves to now loop ourselves in. Like Tucker Carlson's rich. We recognize that like
millionaire. Yeah,
the heir to the Swanson TV dinner fortune.
Right, the Murdochs, like they all have money, but every conversation is about like fucking George Soros and how he's Jewish.
Yeah, and George Soros, immigrants, great replacement. Yeah,
right, and it's like, what in the fuck?
Yeah.
But like we just allow them to get away with it. And now it's become like so prevalent where it's like a few years ago, like us even like thinking to say like, oh, the Jewish people, like it wouldn't cross our mind because one, we know that's not where the conversation is even happening at. But you just know like that's one, not even where the conversation is. Two, you don't say that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we've just allowed really everyone from the right all the way to Kyrie Irving just being an idiot. Like that's my stance. Like Kyrie Irving,
he was being dumb.
He was being dumb. It wasn't intentional.
I don't think he understood what he was retweeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. It's like I don't think he understood. But like with everyone else, especially with the people who have platforms. Kanye being one of the main ones. Like everyone who platformed him too. Like the fact that like Tucker Carlson straight up was removing clips that had him saying the thing out loud.
And then his interview with Gavin, the Vice guy.
Gavin
McInnes. That was fucking insane.
And like you're just allowing them to say it. And so now it's really easy for us to essentially do what we're doing. It's like, oh, the World Economic Forum, all those Jewish people running the world, this private cabal of elites. And it's just like, No.
Yeah.
That's not what it is.
And that's my thing is I think it's 2 points. One, I think the Republican Party has always appealed to the furthest right elements that they can find.
Yes.
They'll never say it, but they speak through euphemisms all the time. And it hasn't always...
Well, we don't anymore. The death of the euphemism, which if you've never seen the Innuendo Studios video essay, you should. It's amazing.
Yeah, we're definitely getting to that point now. But I guess in the past, it hasn't been as explicitly anti-Semitic as we're getting to.
Or anti-racist.
Exactly, right. But I think it's also that they make this connection. The average person understands, like, yes, these wealthy people are basically controlling the world. Everyone at this point recognizes they have no real control over their life. They don't own their home. They don't own their car. They don't really have any agency over what they do in their day-to-day life. They exist solely to labor, and they recognize that. But where Republicans come in is they recognize this precarity, this vulnerability that everyone experiences, and they weaponize it against not the system itself, because they benefit from capitalism. They weaponize it against immigrants, Jewish people, trans people, and every other minority they can blame so that they can keep the system alive while also not criticizing it and embracing their own version of politics, embracing their own political project.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think that adds on top of it is I saw like this amazing comedy clip, which is very true, where it's when it comes to like black people like having this kind of like ridiculous conversation that we're having around Kanye and around like this whole situation. Like a lot of black people, like, let's just be clear, don't have the economic value to like really be able to naturally separate between, oh yeah, it's rich white people.
Yeah.
But like to the fact that like Kanye's like, oh no, it's the Jews. It causes black people to do a thing that we never really had to do before, because for a long time it was just like, oh yeah, the white man's doing a thing.
Yeah.
And then when you allow the fact that the black community tends to allow celebrity to take precedent, like Malcolm X had a whole thing about this, where it's like, you know, in what other community do we allow people who make music and play sports to be community leaders, which is a comment within itself. But like going to that point, there are a lot of black and brown people who have begun to start to become anti-capitalists.
Yeah.
Just through virtue of living life, they're recognizing that, oh, all these bad things that are happening are like, there are economic effects, and they're beginning to learn these things. And in that process, they're kind of being like usurped and caught real fast by like, oh, well, Kanye said that like George Bush doesn't care about black people, and he's not wrong, and I agree with that.
Yeah.
And then getting to the point where it's like, oh, well, if Kanye is saying that it's like the Jewish cabal of the elites, then it must be that.
Yeah.
And we're allowing a conversation that should be happening, which is, where is all the power? Where is the money at? But we're really allowing it to be tainted very fast by the fact that the right-wing media and the people who are connected to them can just say whatever the fuck they want now.
We allow bad actors to take these situations and reframe them into like these twisted messages.
Well, it's not just that. It's because so the right wing can grab on to the critiques of capitalism that we should be able to grab and then gear it towards hating minority groups, right? But the reason that there is no real critique is because liberals in the mainstream, because they dominate the mainstream on the left, they aren't willing to make that critique. Because they can't really recognize that the reason people are feeling so insecure, which is a real thing, which everybody like feels, every worker feels, they can't really critique that feeling because doing so requires pushing back against capitalism. Right. Something they're not willing to do, something that doesn't fall within their political project, their political program. It's just not a thing they'll endeavor to do. And that's really my main critique with the World Economic Forum, is that the left just isn't willing to do it, right? The right tells this tale of the globalization of capital and how it's hurt you and how it's the fault of the Jews or immigrants or whatever. And that's something that resonates because people are like, yeah, jobs have been shipped overseas. I have had my wages cut. We have lost a car, not been able to put a kid through college, and that really does suck. And the right weaves this tale together that we can point to a real enemy. The left can't do that because people like us that are like, yeah, it's global capital. It's not the Jews, but it's the capitalists that literally controls everything. The liberals just will not embrace that message because they can't.
It's like there's also a really easy line to take to get you to anti-Semitism when you're talking about issues with like global capital and these meetings like this, because you see they take it and they're like, everyone grew up hearing jokes about Jewish people back when culture wasn't as politically correct as it is now, right? You hear jokes
every
about
Dave Chappelle
Jewish
joke.
Exactly. About Jewish people owning fakes. Oh my God, you Jewed me. Shit like that. You know what I mean?
Well, like I used to get like the joke for my name, like my last name being Goodman. Like everyone's like, yeah, you'll be fine because you have a Jewish lawyer last name.
Exactly. It's stereotypes like that, and it's the fact that you can say that Jewish people are disproportionately represented in some of the wealthiest people in like America.
Yeah.
And they take that line, they don't understand how things got to be where they are, and they assume that there are nefarious things. They assume there's a nefarious reason for it.
But also, like, to not ask the question of is it disproportionate?
Yeah.
But like we've watched what the Republicans have done. Where
disproportionate to 2%.
No, literally.
Like that's the thing where it's like you're saying disproportionate. It's like half of the time when they're even having this discussion, they're not even like mentioning people who actually are Jewish, and who actually have money, but regardless of that, aren't doing any nefarious shit.
Right.
They're just like, this person knows this person who seems like they could be Jewish because of these traits and this thing. It's
precisely,
like, so now you've turned what could be the one person that you're talking about, and you have now Wizard of Oz affected this one person into like this entire like group of 70 people.
It's Kanye posting. Once Kanye and Elon Musk started beefing, it's when Kanye posted the picture of Elon Musk with a Jewish friend and is like, oh, well, by proxy, you must be Jewish as well.
And it's not even that. He's saying, look at you allowing yourself to be sprayed by this Jewish man.
Yeah, it's like a simple
some
picture.
Crazy shit like that.
Yeah. And like it's just dragging us in this place where it's like we need to like do like a course correction really fast, because if we don't, like we're gonna get to the point where we're just, I'm not gonna say the thing that I'm really going for, but it's like World War II, like it is history at this moment.
You're right.
And the way in which we're beginning to watch our society like shift in this direction where anti-Semitism is becoming very acceptable, when, like, again, 10 years ago, if you looked at your grandfather and said, hey, I think that Hitler did great things, your grandfather would...
your ass beat.
Right. Yeah. Like, your chest would be caved in.
Right.
In your, like...
Right, because our boys died for the cause, right? Like, American soldiers died for that.
It's like the one somewhat just war, kind of.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Like literally one of the few, like even like Noam Chomsky says that, where it's like
a just intervention, yeah.
It's like there was a reason to get into World War II.
Exactly. So like the fact that we're at the point where we're having this discussion where like is anti-Semitism a wrong thing? Let's ask our panelists.
Yeah, we had an episode where we had to debunk anti-Semitism. Like, we shouldn't have to do this. I thought we decided, like, okay, we're past this.
Yeah, that's where we initially talked about like the disproportionate thing. Like, yeah, they're 2% of the population, and talked about like historical reasons why people might be shoved into these paths, why in groups tend, like, oh my god.
Now, if we want to talk about like disproportionate, like the fact that like the U.S. has what 12% of the world's population
and 40% of the world's prisoners,
right? Yeah. Or like the fact that like black and brown people are disproportionately thrown into jail.
Right, they don't understand disproportionate then.
Or they want to talk about how black and brown people commit a disproportionate amount of crime, but want to leave out that they make up a disproportionate amount of exonerations.
Exactly.
Or like how I'm going to get you like a real viral clip real fast, like black on black crime isn't real.
Yeah.
Like that whole conversation of like, black people disproportionately affect themselves. When you are poor and you commit crime, I'm not looking at to see if like, oh, well, this is another black person's house, I'm going to break into their window and steal their shit. It's, oh shit, I live 2 blocks away. This person has shit that I can sell.
Exactly.
I'm going to do this thing real fast. It's proximity. I'm going to do it real fast, solve my problem. That's how that happens.
Yeah.
And like the effects of the fact that it happens is disproportionate in black and brown communities. Like all these other disproportions that we can discuss. But yet when it comes to the fact that there might be Jewish people with money, oh my God, it's disproportionate.
Oh, it has to be so nefarious.
Yeah, it must be. And like the right doesn't understand how statistics work until they think it benefits their cause. And even when they think that, they're still wrong. Because when it comes to the black on black crime thing, it's like, yeah, crimes that happen out of desperation are often because of proximity. White people commit a disproportionate amount of crime on white people as well.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with some like inherent violence within a certain racial group. It has to do entirely with poverty and the effects of capitalism.
White on white crime.
Exactly. Well, it's not an issue,
To even go more specifically, you also never hear about Asian on Asian crime.
Oh, never.
Or Hispanic or Latino or Mexican on Mexican crime. It is solely black on black crime, which is disproportionate. It's a disproportionate calling out of black on black crime.
Mm-hmm. The only time you ever hear about crime committed by people of like the Latino community, it's when Republicans are talking about immigrants.
Yeah.
And it's when they're hyper exaggerating an issue and talking about cartels coming across the border to give your kids fentanyl.
I mean, we can impugn them for being wrong, but they're on message. They stay on message. They got message discipline.
And imagine if we, the Democrats, had one, just had a singular one.
Real.
Just one real thing.
God.
Like unions. Unions is not even the hard one.
No, it's not.
But like, again, capital interest.
But it's like, I've also had conversations. I feel like regular people are starting, or at least people who aren't from union towns, haven't been in the union before, have completely lost the plot when it comes to unions, because they look at them and say, oh, unions are corrupt too. Any organization can be corrupt, but if we look at the historic wins that unions have brought to workers' rights, you literally cannot ignore that they are a good thing, demonstrably.
Well, it's also funny because, like, when it comes to unions, like, people, you notice, like, the conversation around them, people kind of remove themselves from what a union actually is. They're like, oh, well, the union are these people in the room.
Yeah.
No, dumbass. The union is you.
Yeah.
You joined the union and you are part of the union. You help decide those things.
You have to vote on all of the resolutions that the union does.
Yeah, it's like, oh, all these people in the room.
They're the delegates that you elected to talk on behalf of you, because we don't want, 40,000 people in one room.
Yeah. I mean, well, and that's the thing when it comes to unions, is that I understand sometimes the hesitation that people have towards unions, because like the AFL-CIO has historically been pretty bad towards black workers.
The UAW.
Yeah.
Being just like somewhat just anti-democratic half the time.
No, exactly. Yeah. Some unions have been very anti-democratic, but the only reason for that is because they end up siding with capital interests. Mm-hmm. That's the only, anytime a union becomes corrupt is because they're siding with the person they're supposed to be opposing.
Yeah.
Because they become like business unions rather than like radical worker unions. You know what I'm saying?
And then
that's the only time
anti-union people get to prey on people's very real fear of economic insecurity. They can say, oh, or if you're Amazon, back when Bessemer, Alabama was trying to unionize, they could say, you could pay these union dues or you could buy a PS5.
Yeah.
It's so fucking insulting.
Why would you pay 4% of your paycheck when you could buy a PlayStation 5?
Exactly. But then they leave out the convenient fact that you're going to get a raise that is going to cover your union dues and then some.
PS5.
And then some. Oh my. Oy vey.
It's like either you can get a PS5 and a PS5.
Yeah, exactly. You get a PS5 and a PS5 and other things.
And the funny thing about that is like material possessions, right? A thing with the conspiracy theories around the World Economic Forum is this constant fear that the right wing pushes, that like their plan is to take over the world, of course, and then take away all your material possessions, right? You're not going to own a house, you're not going to own a car, you're not going to own anything.
They're going to microchip you.
Exactly. They're going to enslave you and you'll own nothing in your life. And I think it's interesting when it comes to these conspiracy theories that they view the entirety of your freedom in the sense of what you own. You know what I mean? Like your material possessions define who you are.
Well, I mean, their entire thing is trying to own your body. So, I mean, I guess I can understand it.
I also find it interesting that they're focusing on how these people are never going to allow you to own your car, own your home, when I can't do that anyway.
No, exactly. You already
probably not going to be able to own a house anytime
They talk
soon.
about taking your rights away, taking away things that you own. You already don't have, like, what do you have a right to do?
You're already leasing your car because
that's
that's the only thing you can afford.
Yeah.
You're already renting your house because that's the only, your house, your apartment, because that's the only thing you can do. You're fucking renting everything.
Oh yeah, I just saw like a fucking graph the other day where, yesterday, like the price of housing is back to where it was during the recession.
Sick.
Yeah,
it was like I can't afford any of this, so I'm just waiting for it to drop again.
Yeah,
or like the fact of like the concept of me owning a home, I've just accepted the fact that I will be renting for forever. It's like, and like somehow again when the economy crashes again.
And they always want to talk about the World Economic Forum, and I think it's because there's a certain distance that we have to organizations like that, these big meetings of global capital, right? Because it's this super like up there bougie event, and they never want to talk about corporations like BlackRock that are here, that are literally in your neighborhood buying all of the houses so that you will never be able to buy one.
Yeah, or like how UWM in my city is just like they buy up houses for like their own employees. And it's like, you're becoming a city resident because your job's paying for it. Rocket Mortgage buying up all they have down in Detroit. Like it's like there are so many clear ways where we're like, nope, that's why this is happening in your community. I can list you like all the land speculators and people who are like eyeing things in your city. Yeah. Here you go.
I can tell you exactly why your rent is high. Look at this vacant apartment building that somebody owns and they're allowing to sit there.
Yeah. But instead, no, we're worried about what's happening over in fucking like
Davos.
Another thing about the World Economic Forum is they talk about great replacement theory, or not great replacement. That's another thing.
the Great Reset.
Kind of.
That's a great conversation to have at the forum.
They talk about Great Reset theory, another great one. And conservatives like to fearmonger this one because it's, again, that idea that you're going to own nothing. The world's going to be revolutionized. Everything will be different. Capitalism, like perfect capitalism, whatever. And they always fearmonger about this. But it's like the Great Reset already happened like 40 years ago. And it was under Ronald Reagan, and it was Jimmy Carter that like they ushered forth the financialization of the economy, infinitely more money going into the military and stretching the capacity of the military, the destruction of welfare and social safety programs. Like where your economic vulnerability stems from is from that period. It's not anything they're going to do now because they already control the world.
Yeah,
and it's not the Jews; it's capitalists. Yeah, it's global capital.
There's this really funny series of I think it's 6 graphs that we retweeted on our Twitter, I think last week. And it's essentially just talking about this. It's all of the points in recent history where like prices went up for healthcare, where we started falling behind in healthcare, where rent went up. And it's just a picture of Reagan's face right next to all the points. And every single inflection point that we see in that graph is a year that Reagan was in the presidency.
Yeah, and it also is Jimmy Carter as well. He kind of started the process that Ronald Reagan would ramp up, but Jimmy Carter thought he was doing something good by freeing the movement of capital.
I was almost like about to like do like the worst thing ever and be like, you know what, Jimmy Carter's not that bad. Like, because like I will say if I'm going to defend any president in modern history, I will choose the peanut farmer who like legit just kind of didn't know any better.
With some good intentions.
He thought what he was doing was going to like bring America back from the downward trend that it was engaging in since like the 60s.
Yeah.
He thought that what he was doing was going to, strengthen the base of the American economy when really all it did was hollow it out.
Yeah.
But he couldn't have known that.
If there would have been a good president after that, they could have seen like, okay, maybe we should reverse course. These things aren't working, instead of turning the dial up to 11.
Well, and that's the thing is it goes Reagan and then H.W. Bush and then Bill Clinton, and all of them fully bought into the neoliberal policies that they were pushing forward. And by that time, when George Bush comes in and Barack Obama, they're basically doing the same thing. You can't reverse course anymore.
It's too late.
Capital has more power than governments do. Like you can't regulate it; it just leaves. Like there's nothing you can do about it. We used to have what was called capital controls, where we wouldn't let them
too big to fail.
Yeah, there's just nothing that we can do about it.
Billionaires complain about still having to pay like tax, like income tax to America when they move somewhere else, or pay tax on their corporation's income in America when they move somewhere else. And then right wingers on the ground get on them and are like, yeah, why should they have to do that? That's for you, my brother in Christ. That's to help you.
In the year of our Lord 2023, you would think that you just fucking knew better.
God.
Like, I also think that it's a kind of like funny and interesting situation that like we always discuss like how like capital interests and the left right dynamic are kind of unimportant because like we notice that like capital interests line up whether you're right or left.
Yeah,
sure.
But it's funny to me that the Democrats oftentimes, of course, throw themselves into the camp of, oh no, we're here for the working class, when again in actuality we know that is very few and far between actually the case. But that like the Republican Party themselves kind of intentionally put themselves not in the same group as the Hollywood elite or as as a Hollywood elite, but they put themselves in the same situations as people with money, as big banks with business owners. Like they see it as a positive thing because again, most people think like, oh, well, if the Republicans win and I do everything right, then I too can be one of them.
I can be a billionaire too.
And it's like the American dream shit.
Yeah, and it's the fact that most, no offense, white men have been told their entire lives that they can do and be anything. And so unfortunately, when you then create an entire party whose platform is, hey, I'm doing all this so that you and your children have a chance. I'm not telling you how big that chance is, but I'm telling you that you have a chance to become a billionaire. You too can be this sex goddess, this sex god who like has all these women and all this money. they don't really go into depth about how likely that actually is. But you create a culture of having an entire population who are like, yeah, if I work hard enough, I too, and then my children. Because again, there's a part of it that is like not solely about yourself, but like, hey, I'm doing this so that therefore the children that I would like to have, because again, American dream mindset, children, white picket fence.
Yeah.
It becomes like the cycle, but it's entirely based on the idea of the individualism that you on your own through the work that we are doing to create this landscape for you can do these things.
And in doing that, it becomes impossible to ever have that reality. Like, you never get to have control over your life because everyone, or all the people that are making billions off of your labor are the ones that have control over you. Just total, like, there is no chance that you ever become that guy.
Unless you too also somehow become the most oppressive asshole you can be.
Yeah, unless you're the one guy who makes it, right? Because like conservatives take these like young white men in like their formative years when they're forming their political ideologies, right? And these young men recognize that like, holy fuck, it's not looking good for me. There's no way I'm going to be able to own a house. It seems like the American dream is dead when in fact it was never there to begin with.
You had to be asleep to believe it, as George Carlin would say.
Republicans take the mythologized American dream and say, look, this is what people in the past had. This is what your parents, your grandparents had. This is how they were able to buy a house with $100, and it's these Democrat policies that have gotten it wrong. So vote for us, because it's the way we've been steering away from capitalism that has actually been making it so you can't achieve the American dream.
It fits in with the right-wing conspiracy theories because it's this idea that it's not capital controlling the world inherently that is bad, but a few billionaires, a group of billionaires that are misusing.
Yeah, it's crony capitalism.
Exactly, that are misusing their power.
That term.
And it's a very convenient critique to protect the system and prey on people that don't fully understand how it works.
Yeah, guys.
And it really gets through.
It's just these people at the top that are misusing their power. No. They don't have class interest to misuse the power. Yeah. They are not actively incentivized to misuse that power. They're just bad actors in an otherwise good system.
Well, it's the same conversation that we have about cops every single time, where it's like, I get it. There are a lot of problems, but it's not policing as a whole. No, it's those bad apples. And like, as a person who had old grandparents, there's a whole other half of that saying.
Bad apples spoil the bunch. Exactly. They just ignore it.
And so, like, the fact that like we keep having this conversation, like, oh well, it's not capitalism. It's those few people who have all that money, like George Soros. Like, it's never
George Soros, Bill Gates, yeah.
It's you notice that they're always liberal. It's never like, oh, the Murdochs have all this money.
Exactly.
It's Bill Gates, it's Jeff Bezos, it's people who give money to Democrats.
And it's Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos are the ones who control the world and control our thoughts, not Rupert Murdoch, who owns like 6 media companies.
Yeah, not Elon Musk that now owns Twitter. Yeah, like, it's not him.
Not the people who actually control information.
Yeah, exactly.
Information. Oh my, oy vey.
And the thing that gets me, same thing as cops, is that they'll openly tell you what they're doing. Like, billionaires will be like, yeah, privatize Social Security, put it into Wall Street. They'll be like, yeah, let's privatize pensions. Like, they'll tell you exactly what they want to do. And
Amazon's doing like medicine and healthcare now.
Yeah, they still got to make up conspiracy theories where it's like, yeah, billionaires that are all pedophiles, that are all on Jeffrey Epstein's island, which they probably are, but they're also all Jewish and they also want to control the world. But actually, Elon Musk and the ones that we support are good. It's like a choose your own adventure story at this point.
They're right there, and then they just go wildly off the rails.
Well, it reminds me of the Family Guy clip where it's like, don't tell me anytime that men have done anything wrong, and don't say Iraq.
The United States has never done anything wrong. Don't say Iraq, Afghanistan,
sexism, slavery,
patriarchy, sexism.
And so we're having the same discussion where it's like, billionaires are the bad ones, except for this one, this one.
Exactly.
It's like, you can't pick and choose if this is what you're doing. Unfortunately, their base allows them to do so. It's like, oh, well, if they're saying that must be right. We must follow through with that one.
They've been swindled so hard.
It's because the liberal media can't offer the critique that, no, it's not these individual capitalists that are causing the problem. And they always point to, like, George Soros, the Jewish capitalist, the global cabal or whatever. But it's the processes through which you can accrue that much wealth that are causing your alienation to your labor, your insecurity, your vulnerability, et cetera. And the liberals they don't have the capacity to do that. That's how they win elections, right? Is by getting money from the more liberal elite, I guess.
They literally just can't critique capitalism, and they by doing so and by being liberals, they can't hit the issues that conservatives hit that are wrong, mind you, very, very wrong what conservatives do, but they can't be candid with their audience. They can't be like genuine about what they're trying to say.
Well, yeah, because if they were to be candid at any point, they would, do one of two things. They'd either lose office.
Exactly.
Or they'd get put on an island. Yeah. Right? Like, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to say all these things. And, oh, look, now I immediately have a primary opponent that has like $1.5 million appeared in their account.
Literally.
Yeah. Like even the most radical people we have in government don't take a direct stance like we would against it. Like even like Bernie Sanders, he's done amazing things. He's always been consistent, but even he doesn't take that extreme of a stance that like, yeah, capitalism is the issue. Right?
No. Or like even like with like even like I say more minor things. This is not a minor discussion I'm about to bring up, but like even in like the policy discussions of like, hey, I think that Palestinians deserve human rights.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you watch AIPAC spend $4 million to just crush the one progressive Jewish man in Congress, which I'm still upset about because as you all know, I was like an Andy Levin surrogate from the beginning to the end. And I still will be. Like that is my boy. That is my friend. And like the fact of like, hey, he even like just as a Jewish man,
just candidly,
who was
just
the
like,
president
hey,
of his synagogue, is just like, hey, I too think that it's not even like he said like, oh, like from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. He simply just said like a 2-state solution sounds fair.
Maybe we shouldn't do apartheid.
He said, guys, human rights abuses are bad. As simple as that.
And simply saying that was just like, nope, time to just unleash this metric fuck ton of money.
Got him axed.
Yeah, literally. And it's just like, when we are even candid in the slightest, for him to just simply say, hey, I think that brown people shouldn't be dying, was enough to be like, oh, nope, press the button.
Get him out of here.
Like they activated the Iron Dome for his campaign. That's what happened. And it's just like, what in the fuck? But like you apply that to really any time that we within our own party begin to like offer a critique of either our own internals or the system as a whole, and we're immediately been like, no, sit the fuck down,
kicked out, silenced.
And if you do continue to do so, either you have to be lucky enough to where they can't get rid of you, where like, they're like, if we do anything to this person, it actually hurts us, or they break you enough to where you're like, oh, see, now you fall in line. Now you're a part of the team. Thank you.
Yeah.
It happens. It one of two ways.
Yeah. I guess if you all gain anything from this conversation, it's that the World Economic Forum doesn't control the world. The world's already controlled, and it's right in front of your eyes. Exactly. There's no secret conspiracy.
It's not happening in back rooms.
Exactly. It's not happening in back rooms. They do it in front of your eyes. They'll tell you what they're doing, and it happens to you all the time. It's not the secret group of people running the world. It's your boss that you see every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's what it is. That's who controls you. Like that's like, all it is.
God, as bad as conservatives derail the conversation, the liberals are just as worse, just in different ways in their complacency. Yeah. It's fucking absurd. And I just kind of wanted to go on a tangent real quick because right before I started recording, I went on our Instagram, right? And first thing that popped up is this Politico post. And it's a quote from this Democrat, Representative Marie Glunskamp Perez, a Democrat from Washington. And she said, I just thought you all might like this. It feels like the Democratic Party has taken it upon themselves to be champions of the poorest of the poor. And I think that's great. But I think that it has left a lot of people in the middle class feeling like people don't understand the issues we're facing. She's stepping up to the plate to advocate for the middle class of America. Something no one's ever done.
Yeah, the middle class of America that we say middle class.
She's doing class warfare in the other direction.
Well, like the worst part is like when we say middle class, like we say that because like it's a term that means nothing.
Exactly.
Because if you ask any American who is not very well versed in their economic situation, if you were to just grab the average person off the street and be like, hey, would you describe yourself as like poor, middle class, or upper class?
Yeah.
They would say middle class by default immediately.
100%.
So like, oh yeah, I'm fighting for the middle class. So you mean anyone with an economic amount from $40,000 to $350,000 to $500,000?
Yeah, and it's also
because it means nothing.
No, yeah, because like when have Democrats ever like excluded the middle class from their stump speeches?
Literally,
it doesn't happen. They always say we're fighting for the poor. They don't even always say we're fighting for the poor.
We're fighting for the working class.
Yeah,
at the best.
The working class, exactly.
And like, when I ran, and I still say now, I say like poor. I say poor or working poor, like on a regular basis. Like, nope, middle class. That's not.
You can't.
This
make
is
it
working
invisible.
class and working poor conversations.
100%. Because if you look at it, half of America is living paycheck to paycheck or worse. So what the fuck? What middle class is that? If you're telling me the middle of America is living paycheck to paycheck and that's okay, what are you doing?
Well, like before I got in office and before I like switched jobs and I got paid more money, like so, just over a year ago, I was working at my old high school, which is a charter school. So let's have that discussion too. But like, I was making $24,000 a year.
Goddamn.
Rent for me was $700 a month. So and my check would end up being about $1,424. That's every 2 weeks. No, every month.
I was gonna say
$1,424 every month. So I'd spend half of my income every month on rent.
Yeah,
just rent. That's not including utilities. That's not including groceries. That's not including car insurance because this is Michigan. You have to have a fucking car.
You have to have car, and you have to have car insurance.
Yeah, and I live in Pontiac, which is Metro Detroit, which has some of the highest rates in the nation. And this like to even like, oh, we're fighting for the middle class. What the fuck does that even mean?
What are you doing to fight for the middle class? Or are you talking about cutting Social Security so that we can fund other austerity programs?
Yeah.
We need to make sure that small businesses are able to survive.
Guys, you don't understand. If we raise minimum wage to $15 an hour over the course of the next 4 years, where it won't even matter at that point because 15 will be too low, that's going to hurt small businesses. Yeah. You guys don't get it. That's going to hurt the middle class capital owner.
As if every democratic policy isn't one means tested so that like whatever you would assume to be the middle class is included. Yeah. And two, also would just directly benefit small businesses.
Guys, also stop means testing shit. Can I just say that? Like, that's a position that I have. Stop means testing shit because then the Republicans can't be like, oh, you're only helping poor people. Nope, shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
I'm helping poor people because they need it.
Well, even better, it's like, oh, nope, I think that college should be free. Oh, you're going to means test it?
Nope.
No.
Well, it's like compared to other countries, even our means-tested programs are less efficient and effective because we end up leaving people out and discouraging people from actually improving their social standing.
And just discouraging people from applying by virtue of it being means-tested.
Which I guess is our next topic.
Shit anyway. Oh, so true.
Isn't that our next topic?
What a great segue into the great state of Iowa.
Oh, facts.
Right? Because
we got some Iowan listeners.
We do. We know we have at least one, right?
Whenever I hear Iowa, I think of Slipknot. It's like the Iowa scream. That's the only thing that I remember.
I think of cornfields, caucuses,
and Iowa Republicans wanting people to starve.
Yeah,
wanting poor people to starve specifically. So, Speaker of the Iowa State House, Pat Grassley, just recently proposed a bill that would limit what food participants in the state's SNAP program can buy to what's on the WIC list.
Which is already, so SNAP is, what's the acronym stand for?
Supplemental Nutrition and something program.
Yeah, so
assistance program. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
What you can buy with SNAP is already determined by the state, right? It's a state-run program that gets federal funding. And usually that list is already pretty narrow. And you can't buy whatever you want.
Also, you can't go anywhere and use your EBT card. Yeah. Because you need an EBT. Yeah. It's food stamps. Yeah. Like SNAP benefits are food stamps.
I can have this whole conversation because I grew up my entire life food stamps.
Exactly.
Like I know the system very well through and through.
Yeah. And there's always complaints that like I can't, like there's certain things that like my kid is allergic to that I need to buy that I can't buy using this program. It's already very narrowly applied, and it depends state by state. And in a state like Iowa, I can't imagine it was good beforehand.
Oh God, no. And it's also just not everywhere takes EBT.
Yeah.
So you can't even go anywhere and use your SNAP benefits.
No, that's why it makes me laugh when Republicans are like, oh, our welfare systems, they're so generous. They give everyone what they need and we just encourage people to be poor. It's like, they don't work.
Exactly.
It doesn't function.
What do you mean?
Well, the funniest thing with that is like, it's not that because I would say that the Republicans aren't wrong that we encourage people to be poor.
Yeah, right.
Because the system itself is a one of two thing, right? It's either you're poor and you have government benefits, and there's no gradual. There is a cliff.
Yes.
So it's either you stay poor and you get the resources that you are literally surviving off of, or you make even a marginal amount more than the government says that you should, and you have nothing.
You're cut off.
Yeah.
Your kid turns 18 and he's taken off of the benefits list and you make less money.
Inherently, so we kind of are incentivizing them to be poor, but the conversation is going in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
And also, like, speaking on that, later on in like the article that I read summarizing this, I can't remember if it's in the Iowa version of the bill or, surprise, surprise, there's a national version of this bill that pretty much does the same thing called the Farm Bill. It hasn't been voted on, but I think McCarthy's going to bring it up soon. It might be one of those bills that's in his deal that he has to bring up as speaker. And it's either the Farm Bill or this Iowa House Bill 3 that makes it so that if you have more than $2,000 in your bank account, you can't apply. Like, you don't qualify.
Crazy.
Do you know what 2,000?
It's nothing.
If I get my tax return check, boom, done.
You're done. You're off Snap. That's you spend it on your food.
And the genesis for policies like this come from back when we were doing welfare cuts in 1996, when we finally moved away from the last little bit of New Deal policies.
Yeah.
When we were just cutting people off of welfare. And at that time, unemployment did go down, but only because people were forced to go back to work.
There's a gun to their head.
They had no other choice, because if they didn't, they just died, right? Because they don't qualify anymore.
And also, like, unemployment
and it led
rates,
to greater poverty, yeah.
And also, like, unemployment rates are like the most like unreliable thing.
For sure.
Because like it only includes you if you're actively in the job market. Mm-hmm. So like that conversation as a whole, like, oh, we're at low unemployment rates. People must be doing well. People aren't on government benefits.
Yeah,
no, dumbass. Like some people simply are not capable of entering the job market.
And it's not even that. The whole conversation surrounding unemployment completely obfuscates the issue of underemployment.
Yeah.
And specifically in Iowa here, you know what minimum wage in Iowa is?
$7.25.
$7.25, baby. You work 40 hours a week at $7.25. You're making $18,000 a year. What the fuck are you supposed to do with that?
And then Republicans say, no one's actually working $7.25. Find me someone on minimum wage.
Oh my God.
You could literally see, again, the petty
stats
shit.
are out there.
I would literally just like grab like multiple bus loads. Like, oh, you
100%. Oh, you
instead
want
of
to
doing
see
immigrant caravans, do caravans of every minimum wage worker and just force them to be on every Republican's doorstep.
Kevin McCarthy's California home. Yeah.
Fucking absurd,
better yet, take every like, I say butt fuck nowhere, like every like middle America, like farmer,
everybody who lives in like Houghton,
who is making $7.25 an hour. All these fucking Republicans.
It'd be like 20% of the country.
Yeah,
not even just the people making $7.25, the people making $2.25.
Yeah,
the tipped workers.
Tipped workers, or in the case like farmers who like have their own home farm and they're getting shafted. Like we're gonna bus all of you to McCarthy's house. Like start literally like fuck the immigrant caravans, caravans of poor white voters.
Not even just the people who make $7.25 on the books, the people who are contract workers for places like Uber, who are allowed to just have contract workers and push all of the essential risk that comes with hiring an employee onto the employee, who has to take a risk to do their fucking job correctly and then get docked more on taxes because they're a 1099 worker. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely
ridiculous. It's a whole
ridiculous.
system built on coercion,
God damn, but even back to like talking about SNAP benefits here and what they want to limit it to. You guys know what WIC is?
Yeah.
There you go. But essentially,
women, infants, and children. Yeah.
It's a program. It's a supplemental, keyword supplemental program for women, infants, and children that usually goes with SNAP benefits.
Okay.
That allows you to buy specific goods. And what I was trying to do is they're trying to get the foods you can buy on SNAP limited to only the foods you can get on WIC, which is already
extremely limited.
Exactly, and already should ring some alarm bells considering that WIC is a supplemental program.
Hot take: maybe poor people should be able to eat nice meals. They
No,
should be
for
able
real.
to eat things that they think taste good.
A poor person
Having
should
fresh
get a
food?
That's
steak
crazy.
a couple times a week if they want to. So I'm going to read you what's on the Iowa WIC list. We have fruits and vegetables, milk, cheese, and yogurt, eggs, dairy alternatives, whole grains. Notably in the whole grains, you can't get any buns that have sesame seeds or like nuts on them. You can only get like whole grain buns.
Can I just point out that I'm surprised that dairy alternatives was even allowed?
I was
in this
surprised.
list,
It's
'cause I
just
was
soy.
waiting- They're
just
allowing.
That's what I'm
allowing
saying.
soy.
They're allowing soy, and it gets even crazier
Well, soybeans.
when I read you the list of things that are explicitly like left off, right? But this is still the list of things that are on.
Okay,
You can only get whole wheat pasta, right? Brown rice. They have breakfast cereal and hot cereal.
Why?
But that's not going to cover
Do you
your
know
Kellogg
why
shit.
for the whole wheat stuff versus like white bread? Why is it only whole wheat?
I think the idea is that whole wheat is more
healthy.
nutritional. Like there
Yeah,
are more
okay, I
nutrients
guess.
packed in each calorie.
This just feels like a revenge plan for what Michelle Obama did with her school lunch.
Oh, literally.
Yeah.
We continue on. We have beans, peas, and lentils, peanut butter, chunk light tuna or pink salmon in a can, infant formula, baby food, and 100% juice. That's the list of things that people in Iowa would be able to buy with their SNAP benefits.
Right now.
Right. If this passes.
Okay.
And this has 40 Republicans co-signing the bill right now within the Iowa House.
Christ.
So it's looking like it very well could pass. But notably, I just read you all the things that there are, but like that's not going to get your alarm bells ringing on what's left out. What's left out explicitly is fresh meat, canned fruits and vegetables, salt and pepper, baked beans, cheese, flour, buns with sesame seeds or nuts, butter, cooking oil, or frozen food that you heat up in the oven.
Oh my God.
You would not be able to buy any of that on SNAP benefits in Iowa if this bill passes.
The worst part is like those are all the things that are actually important.
Those are
like, no
all
offense.
the things that like poor people eat. Like that's what I used to eat when my mom was struggling.
So like let's have this poor person conversation, right? Like I can legit understand. Like I remember like going with my mom into like Save a Lot or going into Aldi, and like immediately like the first thing that you buy is the shit that has a long shelf life.
Yeah.
So you immediately are going to buy canned fruits and vegetables. Because canned fruits and vegetables, you can add any amount of seasoning to those vegetables and make them taste good.
Yeah.
Fresh meat's an important thing because I'm sorry, you're not feeding a family off of fucking chicken in a can. Nor is
it's not even
tuna.
Chicken, it's salmon and tuna in a can.
So like I could see if you're like, hey, no meat over like a certain amount per pound.
Yeah, you're not buying like fillets. Like I guess.
But like chicken is one of the cheapest meats that you use for protein. Like that,
one of the most protein dense, healthiest foods you can do.
Yeah, like it's lean protein. I mean, the like all the boxed goods, like boxed mac and Kraft mac and cheese, ramen noodles.
Rice.
Couple
bucks for a big ass thing of rice on the Asian market.
Is like oatmeal included on there?
I think oatmeal is included.
And now a question, like do they define between like just plain oatmeal, like oatmeal has fruits in it?
I can look. I have the list right here.
Yeah, it's the apple and cinnamon oatmeal. You can't buy that one.
Or I don't know if maybe
peaches and
is
cream.
oatmeal under whole grains. Yeah, oatmeal under whole grains. You can get 16-ounce containers, quick or old fashioned, approved brands, Best Choice, Mom's Best, Our Family. You can't even get the good shit. You can't even get Quaker Oats.
Wait. Say those brands again.
Best Choice.
So Best Choice.
Our
that is so. Also, let's ask this question.
Yeah.
How many of those are generics for very specific food companies?
Yeah.
I would imagine they're all generic.
Because now I know they're generics.
Yeah.
Because I think Our Family. I feel like
that sounds like an Aldi brand.
I think it's Aldi, and I think Best Choice is Walmart.
Great value.
Great
is
value.
Walmart's
You're right.
generic brand.
But I'm like, like how many of these are like generics or like tied to specific companies who are like the main food providers in this area? Because like recognize that like in Iowa, like what fucking grocery stores do you have?
No, literally. And I think another crazy thing about this list that is kind of like implicit is these are all like ingredient foods. None of these are like foods. Because like a staple when my mom was by herself raising me, working full time trying to raise a kid as a single mom was frozen food.
Yo,
I'm going to get home. I'm tired as fuck from working and taking care of your dumb ass all day. So I'm gonna pop this frozen food in the oven and this is what you're going to get.
Totino's pizzas.
Yeah.
And then also pizza rolls. Every fucking French fry and like
For sure.
chicken nugget in the world.
Literally.
Hot Pockets.
Ooh.
Hot Pockets were the main one. Hungry Man dinners, if you remember those.
Oh, I had so many Hungry Mans. Yes. I had so many Swanson TV dinners. Like I loved those.
You're lined in Tucker Carlson's pockets.
The banquet dinners, like the $1.99. Like here goes the worst chicken nuggets in the world.
Yeah,
but you get a free brownie.
Yeah.
Or even if we're getting like a little more bougie with it, I think it's a Bird's Eye brand. It was this shit. It's called Chicken Voila. It used to be just a couple bucks. Like it used to be like I think like $4, and it was like a $4 or $5, and it was a full dinner, right? And all you had to do it was broccoli, cheese, noodles, and carrots, and then you just put that shit in a pan, let it go for like 10 minutes, and it's served. It's done. Yeah. I ate that probably almost every night for like 5 years of my life.
But instead, now we're gonna have kids out here just eating like
canned tuna.
These kids are gonna be eating
Spam.
Overnight oats. That's what it's gonna turn into.
And it's like the Republican Party is always on about protect the kids, and then it comes to kids that are born into poor conditions through no fault of their own. Can't control where you're born. Spawn point is random.
Can't even work if they wanted to.
Yeah, can't even work. And now they're cut off from like what they're able to eat through like they can't control that.
Exactly.
It's all protect the kids unless they're poor.
And it's also like super notable here. What in this are you like sending your kid to like lunch with? Like what are you eating for lunch? Because you can't get like white bread. You can't buy cheese. You can't buy deli meats.
And I'm assuming that like, does Iowa have like, this is a stupid question. Why am I even asking this? Does Iowa have like a free lunch program?
I don't know.
I think so, because I think a lot of free lunch is like federally funded.
Because like my concern here also becomes like you're sending kids to school who aren't eating at home. Like
literally,
you're not about to have a kid who's starving at home now have to be in debt at school. You are going to literally like you're already going to be starving children.
Is crazy. It's a concept.
School lunch. Oh my god, there were times where I just like forgot money and just couldn't eat.
Yeah,
like I just forgot to pay my school lunch and they wouldn't serve me food.
I was always poor, so my mom always had to fill out the fucking sheet, so I never had to worry about it.
Yeah,
and like I remember there were. Well, to the point, like there were days where I would just eat so much at school because, like, damn, like it's the end of the month, food stamps have run out, we have like another week left. I'm about to like go fucking ham on the school food, but like recognizing that most schools don't have food, like even like in my concept, okay, for a good portion of the month, I'm eating well, and well being like Chef Boyardee, being like fucking hot dogs that I've cut up and put into a bowl with baked beans, right, which are no longer on the fucking list.
Yeah, exactly.
Hot dogs, I don't think hot dogs are on the list either.
You explicitly can't. It's. I mean, I would argue it's like not canned meat, so I guess it's not on the fucking list.
And so like it becomes like, well, what the fuck did you do? You're at this point, this is just a bill to starve children.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, like, what is like the what percentage of Iowa is white is my main question.
So much. Like
it's a very
I imagine
like,
there's 3 black people.
Right, because like in Michigan, like it's like I think like black people are like 15%, if that,
something like that.
So like in my also thought concept here is like you're not even attempting to hurt poor brown people.
You're not even
here.
like being racist.
Because like in Michigan, it'd be like, oh, yep, fuck the brown people. Like Alabama, we're doing this to specifically hurt poor black and brown people.
Yeah.
In Iowa, what do you do? Is this personal? Are you hurting?
Because there's 10 people in Iowa. One of them was the math teacher of a kid when he was younger, and he's like, you know what? Fuck this math teacher. Gave me a D on my exam.
And now I'm gonna make his grandchildren starve. Like that's what's happening.
Food stamps. It's fucking ridiculous, and I think it's also funny because like back when Green New Deal stuff was popping off, like what, 4 or 5 years ago, the whole thing was AOC wants to take our burgers away. The Iowa Republicans are taking your burgers away.
Literally.
Come on. And it's like, even it's the JID line on crack sandwich. I don't got cheeseburger money, make a sandwich.
First of all, we're going to have a different conversation. How the fuck do you know any line off the Forever Story?
What do you mean, how do I know? That album bangs.
So really random fact about me as a person, right? Okay. I love music. I play 3 different instruments.
What do you play?
I play bass, guitar, and drums.
That fucks.
And so I grew up in Pontiac. I grew up in a household that had like my stepdad was a rapper. Like him and his twin brother are actually kind of good, but they don't make music anymore. Okay. And so I grew up with that. My favorite record label is Dreamville because Dreamville is
Did you hear the new song?
Oh, you mean the one that he like just of course
yeah,
great.
It's gas.
Excellent.
Like the fact he just took a beat and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna make a song."
Beat, yeah.
But so JID, like there are so many JID quotes that are anti-capitalist. Hold on, let's just go there. If you've never listened to JID before, like listen to really the not the Forever Story, DiCaprio too. There are so many like goated lines on there where he's just like dropping like, "Hey, rich people, hey, capitalism," or like the Spillage Village. Makers of like Earth Gang. There are so like
the Spillage Village album goes crazy. That's exactly what I was
Baptized. He straight up says like, you know, like if we ain't got no more money, let's eat the rich. Like just straight up says it. But
his
like
verse is crazy on Baptized too.
I know, right?
Oh.
But like to that point, like there are already like so many things that Snap doesn't do that we are now even further constricting. Like one of the key things about like food stamps, in most places you can't get hot food. Like you have to cook it, and it's in most situations by having frozen food, it's not that difficult to throw some shit into the microwave into the oven. But like you're inherently already making it difficult by saying that people can't get hot food on government benefits. So now looking at Iowa, it's like, oh no, not only is it already difficult somewhat to have food stamps and go through that system, we're now even going to make it even harder. Now they are turning their citizenry back into peasants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's my broader critique of our welfare systems is that they're not designed to slowly lift people out of poverty. Like you said, it's a steep cliff drop off.
Mm-hmm.
They're not designed to lift you out of poverty. They're designed to make it so you don't literally die and then you can get back into the workforce. Because if there was no social safety net at all, there probably would have been a revolt by now because people aren't just going to starve to death.
Is Iowa just doing their best to like turn their state fully back into like a farming serfdom?
I don't know.
Feudalism,
It's funny because
Just back to company towns.
the justification. I have a quote from Pat Grassley. Let me see if I can find it in my show. No, I was looking though. Wait, because
Chuck's not Iowa, is he?
Wisconsin?
No. Chuck,
No.
Get a fact check.
I'm thinking
like,
of
I'm just gonna look it
Ron,
up.
the guy
Okay.
that keeps trying to get rid of Social Security. He just won his seat. He shouldn't have won.
Ron Johnson is
Ron
Wisconsin.
Johnson's
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
That's
He
what I was
runs on
thinking of earlier.
privatizing Social Security.
Fucking insane.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, but yeah, I have a quote from Pat Grassley justifying this cut to SNAP. And he said, quote, "It's these entitlement programs. They're the ones that are growing within the budget and putting pressure on us being able to fund other priorities."
Like what, brother?
Like, feeding the people is not a priority.
What are state governments for? Like
Making sure
more
people
fun
are
for more funding for the
food
cops.
insecure isn't a
State
priority.
police.
Also, to make it worse, he is Iowa.
Chuck Grassley?
Chuck Grassley is Iowa.
There's no way there's not a connection.
Yeah, no, like he
How many
was,
Grassleys
he
can
was
there be?
born in
What an awful
Hartford,
family.
Iowa. Like he's a Grassley. He's the senator from Iowa.
That's
What
great.
an awful family.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's kind of bitchless too.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, look at the Huckabees and the Mansions, the Vosses. Like
They
they're
won't go away.
They will not go away. It's the worst thing. But like, it just blows my mind that at even if you don't want to give people housing, if you don't want to give people money, you don't want to give them jobs. Like no jobs guaranteed. No,
Yeah.
fucking feed them. Like even on a capital interest level, right? I'm sorry if your employee is full, they're likely going to work better than them literally fucking starving.
Happy workers are usually good workers.
If your blue collar construction worker is starving, he's not going to be able to lay as much
That's
brick
the
as you
thing,
need him to.
is that the left even does capitalism better than the right does. Like Keynesian economics is objectively just better at producing good outcomes. And that's not even like a form of social arrangement that I would want to keep around.
No.
But it's just better, like the FDR New Deal style minus the racism style of doing things is objectively better at growing economies and protecting the economy. But they don't do it. They just are focused on cutting back and giving more and more money to the wealthy. That's all it is for Republicans.
Like the countries that we obviously recognize are like the most productive and happiest are still capitalist societies.
Well, yeah.
For sure.
Like,
It's the state capitalism. It's like the Nordic countries.
Yeah, it's like we're not even saying like, oh, like to get those results we have to fully become Cuba. It's like we're looking at countries in which all of you people have like vacation to go smoke weed in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Like you've gone to go see like your fucking ancestral homeland that you have just randomly acclaimed to yourself in fucking Sweden. But yeah, you're like, what? People having things here by just having a small restructuring of the economy? Fuck that. I want them to die.
Yeah,
Choke.
well, we argue for programs that are more common than they are not common. You know what I mean? Like national health care is more common than it isn't among comparable
We
countries.
are very much in the minority when it comes to the way that we run things economically.
Ridiculous.
Wow, you had a baby? Damn, you don't even get 2 weeks. Go back to work.
Damn. Yeah, no, for
And
real.
give us $15,000. Like, insane. Anyway,
Fuck, dude.
does that bring us to the end of our
I think
episode?
that brings us to the end.
Yeah, it might.
That brings us to the end of this podcast. Again, thank you to Mikal Goodman for coming on the show.
No, of course. I
great.
had the
You wanna-
great fucking time.
You want to plug your socials again? Just to
yes.
really ram it into people's skulls.
Yeah, so you can find me on, I know for a fact, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. It's Mikal for Pontiac, so MIKAL FORPONTIAC.
Nice.
It's the same across everything. Again,
Sure.
brand cohesion.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That'll be all that will be in the description. Thank you for coming on.
Of course, thanks
And
for having me on.
Before we go, as always, we're going to read our list of beautiful patrons. These are the people that make it possible. They're our capital investors.
Exactly. These
people
are
that might become one after
global
this.
elites in our mind. Oh my goodness. Oh.
These are the people. This is the head in the office office cabal that run the
Exactly.
show.
They keep
the
these
elites
lights
who
on.
run this.
They keep the mic on.
So special thanks to Cricket Scrapbook Layouts, Nikki Nine Lives, Kaden Kraut, Lord T, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Talia Katz, 40% Spite. This is a long list. It's
Yeah,
Andrew Harris, Mike Joplinski, Mattias T, The B-Plot, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Sarah McRoberts, Derek Messina, Dylan B. Kaz, Caleb Joy, Jim Bobs, Carl D, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Meyer Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, Max Vasquez, Jacob Rogers, Colt Newberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Ted Cruz's Boy Toy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Brad, Joe Stenstrom, Austin Reed, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Judah Marshall, Colleen Cutts, Timothy Espinoza, Gregory Isn't My Name, Ver Yuk, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Eliza, and my mom. Thank you all for supporting the show on Patreon. Couldn't do it without you.
Looking to grow that list in 2023.
That's right.
I mean, now I'm going to be added to that list.
Oh,
That's
my
right.
See, you have a new Patreon
We'll have
subscriber
Mikal
already.
Goodman will be in the description as well. Thanks for
Let's
listening,
go.
everybody.
Have a great one.
Have a good day.